hello. Someone else say hello. I want to see if you're all coming through okay. You're not coming through okay. I should have checked this part beforehand. Let me fix that. Device. Headset. How about now?
Hello.
Every stream starts like that. No idea why I did that. And our viewers can hear a little bit of contemporary jazz music as well that is set up, because to have silence here for the 4-5 hours that we're going to have this conversation for would be too painful.
Lightning. To match your background.
I didn't.
Awesome.
I didn't. Now that we've gone live, not to like insult you one last time, Lindsay, but you decided to just abandon your posture when we went live, and you've now disappeared out the bottom. So I'm just going to.
Are they going to be able to hear Lindsay over the jazz? Because she's quite quiet to me.
I've made the jazz very, very quiet, but a trusted confidant.
Hello.
That's much better. A trusted
ASMR.
confidant is in the chat, and I'm sure that she will tell me if anyone is too quiet or too loud. Yeah, we have completed our Curse of Strahd campaign after 3 years. I got the session numbers a bit wild. I was on the Discord being like, session 158, 100. No, we ended on exactly 150 sessions.
Wow.
That's not including, I think,
I mean, that sounds
Bartandalus.
right. That's almost exactly one a week for 3 years. So
Bartandalus had, I think, 5 solo sessions. And I
Did he?
think, yeah, across the whole
how many
thing.
of these did we know about?
There's all the orphanage stuff, I think. Predominantly.
A lot of killing kids.
Spent far too long on an orphanage on your own, to be honest.
that's why he's the Dark Lord. You didn't know the half of it.
What's it? Was it all orphanage stuff? My solo sessions.
I feel like there was orphanage. There was orphanage. There was orphanage, like consequences, where he was like encountering people, guards in the streets. I need to sort my chat box out.
I don't know whether these guys
There
know the
we
ins and
go.
outs of what happened in that. Do they?
Well,
What a great start!
We should
What a
have
great
stream
start!
about it,
We
talk
should.
about it.
Bartandalus, do you want to tell them what you got up to
Oh, is that how we're starting?
in that? Or why not start with a killing of kids?
It was pretty early on that the
It
solo
was really early on.
started.
I can't even remember why I went there originally.
Kids. You went there.
I think you were just angling for a solo session, really.
I mean, yeah.
There was definitely an element of that to start with. I feel like you went there to deliver. You went there to originally as a group, you went there to deliver Lucian, not Father Lucian, who was the boy whose parents,
The windmill.
the boy whose parents had basically sold him to Morgantha for one more slice of pie.
Cobbler's parents.
Yep. And it was he and Myrtle who were in the Roof the Bone Grinder, who were rescued by a pretty lady while you were downstairs with them. And you escorted him to the lackey. At first, you couldn't take him to the orphanage, but then you were like, a lot of bad juju going on here. And you had your events in the orphanage and decided, no, he won't be safe. He won't be safe there. So he was not safe anywhere else either.
I mean, I was going to try and take him on the ward at one point, wasn't I?
Yeah, you just have and when you got Caspen as well, it's like a group of kids knocking around with you.
Like the pied pedo. I think I can't remember how those sessions even came about, but I went there and there's the orphanage stuff. Is that raw or was that a supplement thing for the orphanage? The whole stuff with Felix and then Mark.
It's hard, Joe. It's hard even bloody remembering sometimes. I feel like the
Why are we
locket.
even doing this stream if we can't talk about what's going on now?
No. I feel like the locket is raw, but the orphanage itself, there's no map. We did a map for the orphanage, if you remember. That's all community made in the Schley style.
Yeah, not
The whole Miliov and the demon. I feel like the locket is there. Yeah, that's it. I think the book mentions that there's a locket. It's got this inscription on it, and there's a demon in it.
Right.
Anyway,
Essentially-
elsewhere in Curse of Strahd, you're like, oh, okay, we just leave him up there.
So I can't remember how it all came about. I can't remember how that plot hook ended up me doing a solo session. But essentially what happened in the orphanage is that when I went there, I detected some bad stuff going on. It was like a murder mystery thing, wasn't it? Where one of the kids previously been killed. Yeah, it was me.
Minority Report.
One of the kids, I discovered there was like carved arcane glyphs above one of the beds or something, and scratch marks on a window. And then I found out that it was Felix. Oh no, the kids were getting sick. That's why all the kids were getting sick. They all had like malaise and stuff, weren't they? And the grave digger Miliov was in the orphanage. He was at rest. He stayed there. So I was trying to work out what the problem is. So as far as Bartolomew's background goes, he's actually an arcane occultist that specialises in trying to find missing children. That's what his background was. So the urn that he has had his sister's ashes in it, and then anytime he successfully found a child, he would spread some of the ashes. And the concept was that he was trying to spread all his sister's ashes. But if he found a child too late and they were dead and he burned the body, then he would gather the ashes. So he never managed to empty this urn. It was always getting filled back up when he failed. So like there were all these kids that were ill. So that's why I ended up going into like, okay, I'm going to save all these kids. And then I found out that one of the kids was possessed. And so there was just this moment.
Felix.
I found the locket, hadn't I? But I didn't know the full context of the locket. And then I had Felix, and he was sat in this chair. Did you ever see the artwork of the
It was on World Envelope very early on, and
was it
they
not
would have.
hidden though? Did you not hide it until it was revealed in character, and then probably never got revealed?
Let me have a look and see if I can
I have
find
no
it in
way
the
out of
old.
it anymore.
No, I'll save it if it's in my old Fantasy Grounds folder.
Well,
So
I wanted to say to some kids that you were going to just murder eventually.
Well, I wasn't going to murder him eventually.
He was fattening them up for winter.
This was way before. This was like.
Now the urn is overflowing.
Yeah, this is when I was Eckhart Poe still. I wasn't even Bat Handless at this point.
Yeah, I don't think we ever got the full story of how that transition happened.
That would have been one of the other solo sessions.
Was that a solo session?
Yeah, it was. It was very smart. It was a very short one.
Oh.
So I ended up casting Protection from Good and Evil on Felix to try and excommunicate this demon, thinking, right, I'm about to fuck this fucking demon up now. And this massive shadow thing came out. Bearing in mind, it's the same thing that ended up taking over Harris. This
Thanks for
big
that.
badass demon. I'm like, oh fuck me, I'm about to die here.
You were waiting for some like Quasit or something to come out, and it was like the smoke monster from Lost.
Yeah, pretty much. So it was like, hey, I'm going to kill you, or you let me possess the gravedigger Miliov, and I'll leave the kids alone, and I'll leave. And I was like, fair trade. I don't die. Kids are all right. Gravedigger, we'll find out what happens with him. And then Miliov, I ended up chasing him down at one point, didn't I?
On your next solo session, or at the end of the normal session, which then turned into a solo session, you saw him,
in the
with his
street.
hood up, just walking off, heading out of town. When he was still comatose last you saw him, so you were a bit like, whoa!
Was this when you ran off outside of the house in Blackie?
Yes. And
No, not the dinner party. Are you talking about the dinner party, Halvor?
I don't know, he runs away from a lot of things.
He does. No, the dinner party was a different solo session.
Oh, wait, wasn't that you spotted Strahd and went to chat with him?
Well, that was a fun thing about that, because Strahd was sat in the dinner party with you. Vasily was at the dinner party. Strahd was sat there because, again, me holding my breath every time I do it. He asked if he could come in, and he just slip it in, and you're all like, "Of course, Vasily, you're our friend." Not like, "Hey, that's not an okay question in Barovia."
Yeah.
He was such a good bro.
He was the broest of bros
did the dirty.
until he was not.
Well, yeah.
And then I even would narrate, and I thought it's something I thought I could get away with at a table, but something I thought narrating would stand out straight away. A couple of times when you were like having toasts, I would verbally describe him as going to lift his glass, but then he speaks instead, or something, and talks. I was waiting for you to be like, drink the silly, drink, eat the garlic bread, try it.
Well, so this
garlic bread is white hot.
Before we go on to one of my other solo sections, so this was the thing with Felix and this shadow monster, because it does tie into Harris as well. The locket that I found, it had an inscription on it about, I don't know, angels crying or some shit. And it said that it was a gift given to some original kid that was leaving Kresk and coming to Vallaki, and his parents died en route, so he ended up at the orphanage. But the locket had come from the abbot. So when we got to Kresk, I was like, I need to find this abbot. Unbeknownst to me, it was fucking one-winged angel fucking mental case.
The abbot had locked it in there, and it had been stolen from him.
Okay.
That's why he was just a bit like, whatever, because by that point, it's like, this shit is trivial. I don't care about, oh no, a couple people died. Did they have any good body parts? If not, I don't care.
So I'm presuming that element was more of a side quest that wasn't meant to be anything, but then actually became a bigger thing for Cora than it did for me.
Yeah.
But you're to blame for the death of my friend.
Well, no, because that still would have happened, probably just after also the deaths of lots of children.
Would it have happened?
And probably happened in a more boring way. He would have just been eaten by wolves or something.
No, I would have found it.
No, I feel like what would have happened...
So close. We were on their tails.
The thing is, though, the reason that Harris headed up the Selenka Pass with his little band of misfits, Brazganov, which is the name I gave to the demon in the locket, still wanted out of Barovia. It's not going to try and make that journey in the body of a kid. Public displays of affection for the entire internet to see? Honestly, you know what I have to... yeah, he's not going to try and make that trip as a kid. Oh my god. Great, instantly banned off Twitch. Awful. Yeah, he wasn't with that journey in the body of a child. He had some young, healthy, strong body in the same building. I feel like exactly the same thing would have happened, just maybe it would have took a day or two longer and a lot of kids would have died.
Yeah.
Sooner than they did.
So, one of the thing is, though, when I cleared the demon and it went into Miliov then left with Felix, isn't it? What the fuck happened with Felix?
Killed him.
Oh. Just never found the body.
He never made it to Kresk.
Oh.
He actually gave him to the werewolves on the way.
Would we have found
to get safe
if we got
passage?
some werewolf then?
You would have.
Nice.
You would have found the young
This leads into
feral.
one of my main questions.
Ooh,
I
okay.
mean, for starters, the Werewolf Den was probably the only major location we never went to.
I think it's lit other than the coffin shop, which became pointless in our campaign because I did the event called the Feast of St. Andrews quite differently. There's a coffin shop in Vallaki.
That has some significance.
I'll remind me to come back to that. You also didn't go into the basement or upstairs of Vactor House, which Raw has some whole cultist giant pentagram deal on the floor.
Reclamation. So we never went there.
That's not Raw. No official map for that. So yeah, the Werewolf Den is the only major mapped location in the game that you never went to.
Whatever happened to Vactor's kid?
Oh yeah, her son. He disappeared.
Her two sons, no, they were both fine. They were both around town.
Oh no, the bird
Well, until
before we overthrew him.
Oh,
you found Victor. You found Victor's body in the Gulfias tree
Oh.
with a
Yeah,
bite
but I wasn't
mark in
sure
his
how
neck.
much of that was real life, you know?
Wasn't he doing witchy magic-y stuff and then he just vanished from that house?
Ludmilla tested the tree using him.
But yeah, basically, what all cool shit did we miss in the Werewolf Den? Because that could have been a potential major spot.
The Werewolf Den is really weird in that not too much happens there. early on in the game,
Werewolves.
it can be a really, really hard slog because I feel like werewolves one of those enemies where like even a single werewolf could tear your party apart. And to the point where werewolves aren't a problem anymore. And then I feel like if you'd gone there, it would have just been like walking through, just putting them all down with a shotgun. Which is why plot-wise, I buffed all the werewolves, so they still had some kind of combat relevance. Raw, there is very little except the chance to meet Emil's mate, Zuleka, but you met her early and killed her.
Wasn't that one of the ones we killed unknowingly?
And then
Yes.
wore her as pants.
and then wore her in front of her husband.
Yeah.
It's where most people kind of just go there to think, okay, we want to remove the werewolves from being part of Strahd's arsenal. Let's just go there and just walk through the place, blowing things up left, right, and centre. The way I changed it, obviously, was we reached a point in the campaign where I went through and was like, okay, Strahd has 40 vampire spawn. There wasn't an incident after around about the time that you started going up the Selenka Pass. There were a finite number of werewolves and vampire spawn in Barovia. They all had names and they all had slightly different stat blocks. So it wasn't just, here's 8 werewolves, all marching up the same, which is why you had, in encounters of a vampire, they all needed names because of Bartandalis. And it just made things a bit more interesting when, it isn't just, okay, here's 5 vampire spawn who all just run along and spider climb and they multi-attack twice, and if they manage to hit you with a claw attack, they can do no damage and choose to bite instead next attack. They had spells, they had abilities. Some of them were very, very interesting in like Easter eggs, but then it felt like around that time, I don't know, I feel like Bart never really tried to extract the name from vampire spawn. I don't know if they were dead, you weren't too interested in
we just
getting
kill, it. I don't think there's any vampires
indiscriminately.
kill.
It was quite a few got away.
Yeah, I remember some getting away, but I
Yeah.
feel like they feel inconsequential.
Yeah,
Like
they're not priority.
they're
Unless-
punishment,
Yeah.
You're saying that they all needed names. You didn't even give me Rahadin's surname.
Jones!
For 8 months. I wrote Jones.
It was Jones.
Yeah, alright then. I got
Ra-
it right.
Do you know what his name is, Raw? Did I tell you?
Radin.
Maybe.
Rahadin von Zarevich. 'Cause he was like he was the adopted brother in like an honorific only sort of name, because he originally served King Barov. So he'd been around since like before Strahd was born. But was like utterly loyal to the house of Lannister von Zarevich. So that's where his lot came in. So for us, what I did was I started to set up the whole pull, because from an early point it was very obvious from how you all talked that you enjoyed that. Let's dismantle Strahd's power structure and let's turn Barovia against him. I've got a big graph I've made that I put on like the Curse of Strahd Discord all the time of like what is Strahd's power structure in Barovia, like the whole hierarchy of it all. And with us, it was like, okay, whenever like someone would put the graph on with like a big line through someone you just offed, it was like a kill list. But for us, we had that element of, do we want? Oh, all my frames are dropping. Very unusual. Do you want to try and turn the werewolves over against him and flip that, which have the potential to go well, except you kill, skinned and wore the wife of the usurped leader, who could have quite easily, in a bit of a situation where you went in and you took out like Vorador or someone and you kind of let Emil have it out with Kirill. They absolutely could have flipped the werewolves, which I think would have made quite a big difference. But because that didn't happen, but I was aware the werewolves weren't really that threatening anymore. And more importantly, with Rahadin being killed and Ludmilla getting away, word got back to Strahd, like, okay, they've got the fucking Sun Sword. Vampire spawn are pretty much useless. my main lieutenants, myself, are vulnerable. Time to get the werewolves to move in. So he went and basically granted this big boon to the werewolves, which happened while you were in Kresk. You saw like the moon went red, and you heard huge amounts of howling. Then you heard a few sessions later how I think it was the Martikovs and Valaki were like, hey, fucking dozens of wolves have been crossing over the North Path. And they all went and took up shack in Ravenloft. I massively buffed Kirill and Vorador with horrendous character art, and I made them the Loop Guru, which is a like CR13 werewolf from Van Richten's, and I buffed the others with like a +1 to attack, AC, and save and throws, and I gave them all the new stat. So with Van Richten's, they changed how regen works for were things. I don't think you ever really noticed it in person happen. It used to be that they were immune to like non-magic, non-silvered damage. They changed regeneration so that they regen slightly more, and even if they're killed, unless they were killed with a silver weapon, they just keep coming back. So to kind of like, it's weird when you have things like, I drop a building. I'm dropping a building on this werewolf, or I have a boulder drop on it, and you're telling me it does no damage. Like, obviously, it can. That was it. I think the regen is like, unless it was silver, or unless it was more than their HP again. So you can, like, obliterate them. Yeah, absolutely. Because I always think about things like Dangwaru in our Tomb of Annihilation campaign, where there is like you step on the wrong panel, and the giant stone walls of a temple go BAM! Is some like newly turned werewolf going to be like, no?
Slides out between the gaps.
Yeah. It's so Werewolf Den. I had a lot of cool NPCs in there. There were some tie-ins to Dubek, because obviously the werewolves had the whole thing under Kirill where they were able to pass through the mists, which is another thing. They don't have the people who are trying to scam you like Aragorn. Some groups kind of like go and say to the werewolves like, hey, can you get us out? So they were going through the mist and snatching kids. That's how Caspin got snatched. Did you realise or address that you didn't go and recover Caspin and send him out of Barovia? He's still there with you?
Where did we leave him?
You never got him back from the winery?
Oh.
Always looked after by them.
My head canon is that the Martikovs became too fearful to hand him back over to the Dark Lord when they realised that he'd razed Valaki to the ground.
I think that is one of the, and we've obviously spoke about it multiple times. It is the probably the downfall about NPCs, that sometimes they just become so forgettable because they're there so often. They just become like they're not even in the scene half the time. So the fact that the entire campaign I was trying to find Casper and then completely forgot about him when everybody's going.
Well, how many
Oh,
times
did I?
you just forget that Ez wasn't on a map?
Yeah, and that's a problem I think with a campaign that I've definitely I'm definitely more mindful of for my next campaign, is when a campaign is as long as this, and I mean Ez had a lot of story. You played for so long that you completed all the quests. She had very little. Is that point with a game with the NPC dialogue ends up just reverting to cycling the same 3 or 4 things. You did everything with her, and there was still 2 years left on the campaign. So it did become quite often just just assume she's with you. Yeah. So going forward, I think I will stick to having interesting but more short-term NPCs be with a group if there is a need for one, because having just. I mean, it was useful. She granted a couple of. She granted you the advantage, Halvor, that gave you the crit that destroyed the Heart of Sorrow. With her companions, her destined, fated allies, grant inspiration for free against Strahd once per round. So you fucked up that Heart of Sorrow much earlier than I expected, thanks to her.
That seemed very easy, I've got to say.
So all it was I think 70 HP. 70 HP, temporary HP that's linked to Strahd. That regens each, I think, I can't remember if it's each dawn or each, but so that's why things like, I'll drink this holy water as a flex, because he knew it was going to wreck, but he knew the heart would take it, and that it'd be fine later on. Strahd's whole strength was always very, very based in mechanics. There was nothing that was like just bullshit, it's Strahd. Everything was very, very mechanical because I knew Bartender was in my party. Bullshit, DM! So yeah.
I'm thinking now. But I think it comes to a wider problem that I think the campaign has, not necessarily just your campaign. It might be Curse of Strahd in general, but stuff just happening. It very early on, it felt like it didn't matter what we did because Strahd's going to know about it. There's no point making a plan. Strahd will know about it. Even if you're saying now, well, he didn't always know about it. That feeling was never there, and not in a we're always being watched. It was more in a it's kind of futile. Like if he wants to kill us, he's going to kill us. So let's just do whatever we want to do. Why make a plan? He's heard it all. He knows what.
Early on in the campaign, I think we were struggling to find a reason to be like, oh yeah, we should kill Strahd, because he hadn't really done anything to us.
He was charming and helpful.
Yeah.
It just we're like, we probably should we? Or eventually it was just this is our only way out, and he became more scary as time went by.
No, it's Irina, because he started having a dabble with our heads. Started having a go at Irina, and it's like, okay, yeah, well, she's our buddy now.
I had to really ramp up. I remember writing about it at length, and it gets mentioned on the Discord still occasionally how you really did have for quite a while a point where you're like, look, I know his name's on the box, I know he's the baddie, but he's always been perfectly pleasant to us. He's been helpful. He didn't have to help, especially when Bartender listed. Well, none of you realised, but he was Vasily. When Bartender was like, he went out of his way to go into Perez to get the herbs to help the poisoning from the winery. He's obviously, not the nicest guy, but he looks after his citizens. Maybe we need to help him to break. Maybe the curse is his, and I'm like,
we need to lift his curse.
Well, which
is Dracula.
Which is the story. The story is that he is cursed, not that he's cursing you. So I had to kind of really be like, okay, because Strahd's so fucked up. And a big problem I have with being in the Discord community is you see many different people's takes and approaches and interpretations to the story. And a lot of people try and make Strahd very, very sympathetic. Like, I was very wary that, Vampire was the thing that empowered him, but I didn't want to ever make it seem like he was the good guy who'd been tricked or was being duped. Like, I hope all like that side lore and backstory we presented and just his attitude in general was like, no, long before he became a vampire, even when he was a man and was like conquering, you read Tome of Strahd and his old books from back in the days, even when he was a man, he was still a piece of shit and like an abusive head working, gaslighting narcissist. But a lot of groups are like, oh, we can save him and my character wants to romance Strahd, and it's like, oh. Yeah, so I was having none of that in our campaign whatsoever. I've had a question. Where is the question? Here it is. This is for each of you in turn. We'll start with Lindsay and go round to Mad, because I think Mad will talk for a while on this one. With the hindsight you have now, what would you, the players, have done differently in character creation? So, Lindsay, what would you have done differently about making your character? Any choices, any things you think didn't pan out well?
Well, having a fall in love with Irina didn't work out that well. Turns out that was a bad idea.
You should make a straight character.
No, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't?
No!
I think the problem with the Irina thing was it sounded like it was being phrased as a joke until it wasn't. So I thought we were joking about you heading off to bed with Irina and this and that until like you were effectively like, hey, is Irina snubbing me? And I was like, oh shit, that wasn't a joke. Right, okay. And I had to kind of like...
Evolved via comedy.
It was like, well, yeah, it's like, there has been a retroactive lesbification of this character. But yeah.
Actually intended to be like, she liked people, Everyone would have done, but it just turned out everyone was a woman.
What I did like about that is and it worked perfectly for me. I love the tension that created between you and Vasily. That Halvor in particular was like, I think in and out of character was like, oh, this bitch. Vasily's fine, just bitching because you like her. And I'm like, oh. Like, in fact, your spider sense was entirely correct about it. Yeah, and everybody else is just eye rolling about you.
Did we know at that point that Strahd had a thing with Irina?
Well, yeah,
we found that out
when you first met him.
How did we not realise that Vasily was Strahd at that point?
When did Cora join?
Cora joined at the episode after Death House.
Right.
Because in Death House, Bracken killed whatever her wolf was called as the sacrifice. And then she was like, I must go into the wild and find a new wolf, and walked off that way. We went that way and immediately stumbled on Cora. It was the most heavy-handed lift you out, put you in that I've ever done, I think.
Whatever happened to Bracken? Did we find her corpse?
We found her body.
Yeah.
Yes.
What was that?
You didn't find the body. You found in Harris's journal.
Oh.
He talked about her being torn apart by a pack of wolves. She was
Worst ranger ever.
My children.
She never leveled up. She wasn't with the group. She failed to turn up for our last, I think, 92 solo sessions we had planned. So yeah, that's what I quite liked about making. I didn't like the idea that NPCs just turn up and get to the Amber Temple. Like Raw, while you're at the Amber Temple, Rahadin is meant to turn up and eat a frog. He's meant to stand before the statue and for some reason eats a frog as some sort of ritual and then heads off.
Not the weirdest thing in Curse of Strahd.
No, there's never any book explanation for why he eats a frog. So a lot of groups jump him and kill him there and then, but I didn't like the idea that the Amber Temple is this spooky ancient nexus of all the events and all the things and all the ancient lore, and just anyone, Rahadin just rocks up. I guess they probably could with Persophiles, but it seemed like weird. So I wanted it to be a very obvious, we're following someone else's footsteps. We're not the only ones who are struggling to have to get here. There is like a trail we're essentially following. And then it made sense. I thought, well, who would be trying to head up, trying to leave? And yeah, some people who were trying to leave Barovia.
They were pretty shit people. We really struggled to get that far. How the hell did they get there before us?
Because one of them was a demon.
Oh yeah, he probably made it easy.
He made and killed the people who didn't. Because that was how, obviously, Miliov, Brazganov in Miliov's body was bitten by the Shisuva, remember? And the poison started to go up his arm. That's why they amputated his arm. The Dagadog. The best meme to come from this campaign, the Dagadog. And that's when he obviously left Miliov and took Harris, possessed Harris instead. Right at the end, just in that little frozen temple before the temple. So go on. Anything you change other than the sexual orientation of your character?
And look, I'm not changing the sexual orientation.
Okay.
Just the fact that I chose to fall in love with someone that later on turned out to be the person that I really should not have.
Well, that was the same for Bartandless because Anya died, and it was the same for Halvor because Vanya got taken as well.
Immediately kidnapped.
But I felt like yours were just cannon fodder, whereas mine was like.
Yeah, she was practically a DM NPC, so she had a bit of staying power at least.
Yeah, mine was like the main person.
Should have gone for Esmeralda. She survived.
Many people do. Well, yeah, she didn't. Yeah, she didn't at the end. Poor Esmeralda.
Also Van Richten. Yeah, we didn't really address that. They all died, and we were just like, oh, we did it. Okay, let's go.
Do we bury them? There are more important things.
My character was at the point where he was already at the point where he didn't really care about anybody by that point.
Well, when you've killed an entire town, I suppose one more.
Yeah, we have no excuse.
Yeah. Well, we were basically just told to get out, or we were gonna get forced into killing each other or whatever. So
That was a thing with Tenebrous having your true names as well. Because I kind of expected that you'd go for Bart when you realised what had happened. I know it's been a case of just a very almost Kilgrave style, like, nope, I know your name. You're not touching my guy at all.
I think we kind of knew that, though, didn't we? Like, he was...
I had somewhat had in my mind the prediction that it could very easily come down to it being us versus Bartandalus near the end.
Could have been, yeah, totally could have been.
However,
I had his actual
not with full
Dark Lord
godlike
stat block
powers
ready.
behind him.
Not at the level that, not the stat block that you fought the Herald of the Everliving, but I had a, hey Bartandalus, you now own this. Here's a new actor has appeared in your list. Here's you. If you had gone for it, I have the music ready, but you kept it conversational. I think because you didn't know about the lackey at that point. Go on then. So Halvor, what would you have done differently at character creation?
I'll quickly mention Cora's character since I did help her make it. It was made with the unearthed Arcana Ranger stuff, all the optional stuff. So much better than the regular Ranger.
Oh, yeah.
Although that stuff is now in Xanathar's.
Yeah.
Oh, no, wait, sorry, was it not Tasha's maybe? And it's slightly not as good, that version. I think they tuned it down a little bit, but still, oh my god.
Didn't you end up taking a bit of the unearthed Arcana and a bit of the Tasha's in the end?
Everything, yeah. I think I did
Possibly.
A bit sweet.
Yeah, but either way, the new range is quite cool. As far as my character creation, Harrison insists that I'm like this crazy min-maxer, which is only partially true. I enjoy coming up with build ideas as well as just creating a character concept. And as people may or may not know...
Stop! Your sound has gone crazy.
Sorry, the headset came unplugged.
You idiot. Continue.
Halvor was part barbarian, part rogue classes, and was mostly dexterity based because it goes really well with like your rogue features, and the majority of barbarian features still work okay. However, some don't, and to the point where I wouldn't do it again because of the clashes. You can't use reckless attack if you're using dexterity for your attack. It has to be a strength attack, and because of the curse that I had, lowering my strength even more than it was already pretty mediocre, but the fact that it was even lower, it made it just not worth using, so I couldn't use that. And also, as a barbarian, you get extra damage when you rage, but that again only applies to strength attacks, so I didn't have that either.
Well, you had that loads. You raged loads.
Yeah, but I was getting damage.
He was defensively raging.
Getting more damage. So yeah, I found the conflicts more frustrating than I'd imagined, and so not that far. After having a few levels of rogue already under my belt, I was, although it was fun and he was incredibly tanky, I felt that I would probably, if I were to remake Halvor, make him barbarian and maybe fighter, something like that, something that's more typical. Because you could still, pick up some like.
But you'd lose by expertise then. You'd no longer have those absolute wrecking ball shield bashes. True.
You'd probably have to trade a lot of survivability because I'd also have less dex, so less AC as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a ridiculously hardy build, but
it is, which made I loved the first time that Strahd or who it was just went okay and charmed you against the party, and you're like, now listen. Hey, no. It's like, okay, you deal with Halvor then.
No thanks.
Yeah, right near the end of the campaign, I'm like, I need to take resilient wisdom because otherwise, if I get charmed, everyone's going to die.
Yeah, and you perfectly, because Strahd's whole thing, you drank whatever it was, but the sap from the Gulfire's tree that was like, you can't be charmed, because Strahd's whole thing for the longest time, once you were in Ravenloft, was going to be, oh, please put that out. That's really, really, unpleasant. And could I please have my dear brother's sword back so I can lay it to rest on his tomb, and just really, really appeal to you. And you drank that, and the number of times that you were walking around Ravenloft that I was tracking Strahd's movements either in Strahd or in Bat or in smoke form at any point, because you can charm from Bat, you can charm in any form, and you've got telepathic speech. I was constantly angling just to try and have you step away and hand the sword over, but you were so good at not doing it. But then you also stepped into the elevator trap and separated yourself from the party entirely.
Well, we also kept stepping into rooms together for perfect fireballs. So.
Oh god, the bloody fire.
Your group reaction to the first time, where it's like, okay, and we can rest. And it's like, and a fireball comes through the window. It's like, hey, no, not cool.
Not cool, man, not cool.
That for me,
Yeah.
that was the most eye roll worthy part of Ravenloft, that we got done by that many fireballs, because it's just such a, it's almost like a save or die, like, which those are the worst kind of traps. Like, oh, you failed, okay, you're dead, because we were all so fucked with so little health points. For it to just come out of the blue without any foreshadowing, it's just like,
I am amazed the number of times we actually managed to come back.
get back up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's supposed to be, but my God, Ravenloft particularly was harrowing, a total slog.
And you only explore about 2/3 of it. That crypt floor, I know those crypts seem huge, but on that floor, that crypt is about 1/3 of that floor.
I mean,
There's
the one,
all sorts down there.
The one where we did the big fight at the end.
Yeah.
The Catacomb Jack.
That was...
Third bit.
Harrison told me after we'd finished the campaign, because obviously he was showing me Ravenloft for me to potentially at some point redesign it with the Mad Cartographer stuff.
The Mad Cartographer.
The Mad Cartographer, www.madcartographer.com. Check out my winter bun.
Oh.
But he was saying, like, what's some of the stuff that was here and there. Apparently, Harris was actually in the cells in Ravenloft if we'd have gone to the cells.
And you kept talking about, we'll go back to the stairs in Rahadin's office, because they went down to that floor from the other end. Yeah, we're heading there. And then even when you were up on other floors, you were like, the stairs in Rahadin's room, the stairs. We'll go to those stairs. I thought, okay, right, we're getting Harris ready here. Will she make some sort of bargain to try and be like, help us and I'll stop hunting you, or something like that? Or we just try and put him down while he's in the cell?
Would've, yeah.
But you didn't go that way?
That's exactly what I would have done. I'd have just killed him because I'd already spoken to his spirit when we were in the Gulfias tree, and I knew that he wasn't there, so...
That little sequence I made for you was one of my favourite things I did in this whole campaign, because I loved just how different to everything else that transition in particular was, and that's why I went with yours first, because it was the most different, and I thought, by the time it gets to like the second or third one, you know it's coming. So to be like, yeah, you go into darkness, and then suddenly this like totally different upbeat music, and this like big art of this like lovely, pretty, like, lantern-filled city, and being like, what?
I think that was my favourite part of the whole campaign.
Cool. I'm happy with that. If that's your biggest takeaway.
Yeah,
at the moment where it's like, and then you realise it isn't a dream. It's like an interactive vision, and I'm just looking at you.
I was tearing up during
Really?
that. I was like, oh my god.
I think we'd see a tear up with laughter to the fact that they try and call out to their friend Norris on what sort of bird would you want to be.
No, he stayed with me.
That was the only thing I regretted, that not being able to like split you all separately and record those things separately for a stream, because whoever isn't first, it doesn't have the same impact because you know it's coming.
I don't know.
Yeah, good
Do you
idea.
think?
I came last, and watching the other two come first, I was like that. Fucking hell, I know what's coming for mine. I know what's coming for mine.
That's
I
true.
know what's coming for mine. It's like, find out next week. Bastard.
And then I didn't do it as overtly as I think you probably expected I might. I imagine you probably thought that Claudia would come running in and be chatting to you. But you're like, oh, okay, parents and Ben, what the fuck is this?
That was me.
Well, I don't know if you know, Lindsay, because that started off, that little hut is one of Mad's maps. A couple of rooms are one of his huts. So I imagine that he probably thought, well, I know what's through all these doors. Everything else I took from a map somebody else made. And and just plonked it in it. So he went through what he thought was another door to the rest of his house, and then it was just like the void.
That was awesome. I like that.
Alex did warn me that his headset was going to die at one point. So that just became like really, really surreal for him when it was like, oh, okay. It's like you open the door to your fridge and find just like some huge cavern inside. Like, no, I know this isn't right.
But we didn't really know what we'd fallen down into. It could have been that somehow we'd fallen through the myths back into where we were. So the fact that you went to that completely different environment was suddenly like, oh, okay, it isn't what I thought, even though it wasn't what I thought. And yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah.
I loved it.
It was basically the realm of death you were in, which is why you were in a place that pretty much was not in Barovia anymore. You had kind of slipped out of Barovia and you were effectively dead, which is why I think it was Halvor who went down in the following room. Like, I just kept getting him to make death saving throws, and he was still up, and he was like, I don't, what's happening? I don't get what's happening, because like, you are all already dead at this point.
It went from there into the really tall place, didn't it? Where everything was really dark, we couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
And there were zombies.
And the Tarask skeleton, which I think for anyone who has a knowledge of D&D is like, I'm currently I'm rapidly reassessing our current danger level, but the fact that a Tarask died here, because Tarasks are like meant to be unkillable. If you all you do if you beat it is like force it back into slumber. That is like the unstoppable Godzilla of D&D. And for to have a skeleton there is very like, Because I remember like Howell was like, oh, there's a dragon skeleton. Oh, there's a dragon skeleton. I can see the head. It is not a dragon skeleton. So yeah. And now Bartandalus is back with us. What about you? What would you have done differently at character creation other than multi-classing?
Mechanically, I got no value whatsoever out of my background. I chose the haunted one, which was getting people looking in your eyes. They've seen the deuce in the darkness, and you can get them to do what you want and rally behind you. I think I used it once on Bildrath. I don't remember using it again.
You used it on a couple of guards, and you tend to use it on Oliver, but the situation wasn't right with Oliver. And I also think a lot of people would say, bitch, we live in Barovia.
Well, and this is the thing. So, but that doesn't really make much sense, because I think it's pretty much from... It's either from...
Well, to be fair, backgrounds are pretty garbo most of the time anyway. Cora's was, she can like traverse cities in half the time.
Yeah, that was shit.
You can get across a village of Barovia in 32 seconds.
Yeah. So yeah, background, worthless, but made sense for the character. 100% wouldn't have gone into cleric. I liked it for the character concepts. I think I could have got the same impact by just role playing, being, religious and having this worship without having to go into the cleric side of it. Being a half cleric and no other clerics in the group relegated me to being a shitty healer, which meant it felt like I was always having to cast heal spells, especially towards the back end when we were absolutely getting battered all the time. I was never getting to cast wizard spells. It was like, okay, another cure wounds, okay, I'm going to heal you up, okay. And because I was so bad at it, it was burning spell slots. So for me, that was kind of the big issue. Because obviously,
I miss
Dartalion. As soon as we had Dartalion, I'm like, I'm gonna be a wizard.
Those were like what, 6 sessions he was with us.
Well, yeah.
Well, I really enjoyed his character, and also the fact that he was a cleric of the healing variety, like the healiest of healers. It was like, oh my god.
He was a life cleric
Was it?
of Baal.
Baal, yeah, he was, yeah.
The Lord of Murder. He had like an absolute antithesis sort of approach to life and death, which meant that, yeah, he was a life cleric whilst worshipping a death god.
Was it the character that he had from another campaign?
Yes, well remembered. So he was in the Tomb of Annihilation, which is like a jungle campaign that Alex was in for
Salmanthia.
Salmanthia, my homebrew.
Yeah.
I made a homebrew jungle campaign, but after about a month, Tomb of Annihilation came out, and I was like, Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that. I'll take that. I'll take that. Just like, yeah, I'm gonna put my main plot, but use all the things from this other module, from this other campaign. And he was separated.
Worship Bahail.
Yeah, Bahail, that was it. He was separated from the group and fell into like a chasm that he disappeared into the mist. I didn't even know about Barovia at that point. It's like, oh, this is perfect. He could have fallen into there and landed in Barovia, which he did. He landed in like the swamps of Berez.
Go to in the end. How did
He was still alive. He was still technically, I imagine, really, Bartandalas killed him. When
Let's just say
he was still knocking around your house. Technically, I guess it was very poorly done.
Well, he was very on and off the fence as to whether he was coming back, though, wasn't he? And by the time it was clear he wasn't, it was like, nobody even cares anymore anyway.
Yeah,
he's now addressing it.
He's still in the WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
to this day. Sorry, Lindsay, that's a group we used to communicate about the campaign. So go on, Bart. What else? You spoke to me briefly earlier about the impact, particularly in the vampire encounter, that you felt that your shitty cleric status had.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the thing. If I asked everybody what spell did I cast the most, it's undoubtedly going to be Sacred Flame. And I wasn't even like...
Sacred Flame.
It was like, it did nothing for us. So I think going into cleric, because we had no healing potions, like for the majority of the time, it was just like, okay, well, we've got a healer. It's like, I wasn't a healer, so I felt like every so often I got to do a spell, like a wizard spell. I was like, okay, this is cool. And another big thing as well, if I hadn't have changed my domain, because obviously I was originally a grave cleric and I became a light cleric, I think that would have been better as well. Mechanically wouldn't, because being a light cleric gave me fireball as a constantly prepared spell. So it's just like fireball, which I hate doing. It gets to the point where I just feel like, I don't really want to use fireball again, but I've not really got any good spells because I'm so split between what I can prepare and I have to keep all these healing ones prepared. That I just felt like a half wizard, half cleric, which is what I was. But but that was it.
You're right. Although it makes sense, you're right in that I think that you could hand wave a lot of it as, oh, that's the backstory, and they are two very difficult classes to multi-class together.
Like, I felt that Halvor was a rogue / barbarian mechanically, but was absolutely a paladin in all things flavor.
Yeah,
so it's very easy.
I would have strongly considered going that way entirely, or if there was some like kind of epilogue, then I could 100% just see him rolling as like a level 15 paladin or something.
I think you were a paladin by the end of the
really
campaign. Oh god, imagine those sun sword smites. Brutal sun sword smites. Oh! That would have been a... Get here, Strahd!
I think, obviously, because the thing is, though, is that we were originally planning for this to be a level 20 campaign. So
not for that long.
Well, for long enough where I was like, okay, well, I'm going to start heavily multi-classing it into this one, and I'm going to choose Onomancy as my tradition. Because can you remember at the time, I was like, okay, I've hit level 3, I might go into Conjuration, because I can do this within it, I can do that. There's like loads of cool little things. And then I was like, okay, we're going to go further. Okay, Onomancy, I've found this sounds really cool. And I think it was good for the campaign, me finding people's names.
Yeah.
But mechanically, it was pretty garbage. I didn't really get to use some of the bigger stuff that you get with it.
You got some clutch fireballs of it where you couldn't see them. You did some a couple of Homan fireballs that really turned fights. That is, I don't know how else you'd have managed to kill Father Petrovich if it hadn't been for you having that ability.
No, I was on the bridge when we did that because I can't.
You ducked back behind the gatehouse and you had Rahadin's name, so you used that as the cast it without seeing them, and you flung a curved fireball out around from behind the gatehouse to hit Rahadin.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Because I shouldn't have been able to do that because I can't cast cleric spells with Onomancy.
Oh.
But I kept doing that all the time by accident, forgetting that fireball was and there's so many times that I'd go into combat, I'm like, right, okay, got Animancy. I can use the name and I can do
So
this,
it's
and
still-
I've got to do it.
So it was still considered a fire spell, as a wizard spell, even though
Because
you
it was-
got it as a part of your cleric domain, as always
Because I had it
prepared.
prepared as a.
Okay, yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I fucked my character. My
Well, I remember the
Oh,
point where I loved that 6 months of I could take you, Halvor. I could take you, and then it turned out it's because you'd fucked up the multiclass and you had like the spells
Level
of
4 spells
both
that
a
shouldn't
wizard
have,
and a cleric of your level. That I miscounted the Menliz.
Yeah.
The 15 to 20 content, yeah, that was stuff that I did so much prep on that I just don't know what I could ever use it for now. It would have been cool. Obviously, we would have had to have shifted the pace of the campaign because we couldn't have gone for another year. We couldn't have made. I mean, we absolutely could have, but I think it would have needed like let's take a couple of months off. Let's kind of refresh, have a bit of a rejigger your character slightly if you want to swap a new character out. I know I've spoken to Mad Tabati, Alex, about this before. Would you like to know what some of the 15 to 20 content would have been?
Absolutely.
Tough. Barovia, when you had destroyed... I feel like if we were going to 20, I couldn't... It's less likely we would have gone for an ending, or I would have steered things towards an outcome where a new Dark Lord replaces Strahd. I think I know how I would have pulled that sort of switcheroo, but effectively, Ludmilla was to be the big bad.
When Strahd dies, you mean?
Well,
No, when we leave Barovia, presumably.
Ludmilla would have been, had been, because I didn't change many elements of her character. So you might remember that from my homebrew, I had Ludmilla have like the family name of basically the elven royal family. She was a big deal who had gone missing like centuries before from like the continent you all came from. And I had the elves as being very long-lived potentially in our campaign. So she was like 4,000 or 5,000 years old at this point. And then she had Strahd, who's like, I've been suffering for 600 years. And she's like, in the background. So she was basically playing the long con. She wanted all of the dark powers. And Barovia was going to physically appear in Debec. It was going to wipe out the area that you joined in. Now, in the grand scheme of things, it's only like a 6 by 3 mile valley or something like that. But a couple of small towns would have just been destroyed. The surrounding governments would have been very much like, you'd have been like, hey, we did it. And then like the mists are clearing. And then as you're coming to leave, like familiar armies are marching up. What? So you were effectively going to have, as the plot unfolded of what's happened, Ludmilla's got away, what's going on here, you were going to have Ravenloft as your base. You were going to get to like, I had some sort of attempt at maps ready for you to have like a restored or a purified Ravenloft. We're getting the doggo in dual cam. Fantastic. Although no, Joe, only in the Zoom call. She's actually cut out of Halvor's webcam. She's just in Lindsay's. And you were gonna... Oh, here's the superior dog. Sorry, Maggie or Poppy, whichever one you are. No. Mad's showing us the boxer, the superior dog.
We have a superior dog to this, but...
Don't put yourself down. That's what we're here for.
Had to have one last dig.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to text her abuse every so often. So yeah, you were going to be visiting a few significant locations for Ludmilla's old plans. Several of which were the large pyramid-type structures she had planned for her, the ancient pyramid she had planned for her stuff, which were underneath the Kronig tray, or the Tre Kronig, the big 3 mountains in Urshakar, which tied into Halvor's vision of standing and watching his town burn one day, and also tied into the art I used a couple of times of the 3 giant pyramids with all of the dark end of the world shit happening above. There was a whole lot planned for it, but I can just use lots of it for other campaigns.
Well, all I'll remember is fuck the Maddening Darkness spell. Jesus Christ.
Yes, but that's why she was very, very powerful.
Oh yeah.
she could have had Strahd.
Why
We
didn't
all.
she?
That's not brag. We could.
Because,
We did.
because she knew that the Dark Powers were basically all locked in by Strahd being in a pact, and she didn't want a pact in the traditional sense. She didn't want to just usurp it the way that you all did, because obviously, as you saw, Barthandelus's soul was forfeit, and she didn't want any. She didn't want any of that. So yeah,
He did it for his friends, though.
did he?
So in my mind, and I'd said this to Harrison from day one, that I didn't know whether Barty was going to be a good guy or a bad guy in the campaign. I think you guys were always like, oh, he's a bad guy, but that was never. It was always like,
I don't think we saw you as a bad guy from the beginning.
I'm a bad guy, I'm not a bad guy.
Session 18, Cora, Barty. I feel like you're a bad guy in this story.
So I was never really sure which way I was going to go. There was just always turning points that, to be fair, the DM kind of dotted in there very well. Going back to about the whole thing with the orphanage originally, and we're all like, oh, the orphanage, haha, I'm going to kill everybody, haha. When I went back to the orphanage to check on Felix the day after that, I'd made sure, got the smoke demon out of him. Felix came. Oh no, Felix wasn't there. One of the other kids was there, and like, oh, Milioff has gone now. I'm like, okay. So before he went, he told us a story about a clown. I was like, all right, a clown called Velsharoon. He told all the children. So my whole thing was like, anybody that knew the name Velsharoon, I would kill. That was like Barthandel's entire background. So before Milioff left, he told the entire orphanage of children the name
Is
of.
that why that stopped?
So.
Why what?
Velsharoon is okay. Anyone can know the name.
Well, the reason he stopped is because when I'd killed the abbot, and I realised I'd killed an angel of Lathander, that's when Bartandless basically had his epiphany, had his kind of like his breakdown, and ended up reverting back to
Light domain.
to the light domain. So that was the private session that we had when we got back to Valaki. I went to Father Petrovich, and obviously there's a mechanic within
Ceremony spell.
the ceremony spell for clerics that you can change somebody to worship your deity and stuff. So I was like, I want to be rebaptized. I want to leave my old life behind me. I need to leave this Velsharoon. I think I left the urn, the ashes that had his sister in, so I didn't carry them from after being at the church. So I left all that stuff, and I was like, from now on, I'm going to be Bartandless. I'm going to take on the name of one of his angels. So that for me, it was like Bartandless just took a sudden like, oh, I'm the good guy now. I'm not going to be the bad guy. And then Tenebrous came along. So the DM was like, oh, are you the good guy though? But it was still always the intention of like, because Barty always kind of blamed himself that particularly Halvor was there. And started feeling like, okay, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that these people leave. Because Bartandless, and over time, all of us kind of started working out, most of the people here aren't real people. So it's kind of insignificant what happens with them. I need to get these people out, because I know that these people are real. I need to get Casper out. I need to get the people of the birds of a feather. Oh,
Keepers of a feather.
keepers of the feather.
From the old saying, birds of a feather die together.
So were
Yeah.
they real?
So they're real people, the
How
keepers
do you
of the
know
feather,
they're real and the others are not?
because they're in Ravenloft. the Van Rixen's Guide to Ravenloft. The keepers of the feather are a thing. They're kind of like an organization.
People, they were real, because I didn't go with the whole soulless element that is in the book.
Yeah, you didn't. Yeah.
But just you knew that people were reincarnated, familiar faces would appear over time, because when someone died, their soul would go into the mists around Barovia, which was effectively the pool that Vampire was just basking in and just drinking out of all the time. And some souls would make it out of there when a new life was created and would go and fill that body sometimes. So sometimes you'd have new people, then you'd have other ones that's like, this person looks just like... Must have been so many paternity issues in Barovia. Just like, hey, this looks like the man from 2 villages over who died last year. But obviously an exception to that... Yeah,
I mean, they were people, but they were reincarnated souls from other people. So
yeah, I feel like the
The
people...
impression everyone was a real person.
Well, the people who said that to you were normally not very nice people. Like the abbot who felt that his lives were all totally disposable. If it got Strahd, back to Lavender.
The way I justified it in character was almost like a weaving of the fates, that these people that have now been drawn to us, they're obviously operating on a higher plane than the Muggles. You've got these people that are in this big grand scheme of things of what we're doing.
The Death Eater.
I mean, now I'm pretty much Voldemort, right?
I mean, to be fair, even Halvor was coming around to the idea of, if these souls have already lived dozens of lives over thousands of years, then compared to us and anyone else in our situation, they are kind of less important.
Cora wasn't, because Cora she really, when she made connections with people, they became her family. So if she made a connection with that soul, that essence, whatever it was, then it needed to be protected and looked after. So I think that's why she struggled so much, and why when we'd gone, she still had that connection with them, particularly like with Muriel and the people that she got to know really well. So she couldn't just leave it. She had to keep going back because she never really saw them as disposable. Like, that's probably why Halvor could rest and she couldn't.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think people like Muriel, and oddly, other than it being Irina's brother, it's Ismark, and you know that they are from Barovia. The people that you know aren't from Barovia, it's like, okay, well, you're trapped here like we are then. You're not like the rest of these people. I think there's a big conversation that Bat Andless and Halvor had in the winery, where I was like at the window, I'm like, I don't believe in these people are insignificant. But I was already at the point where I'd kind of been converted by Tenebris by that point, so I already had the superiority thing, like it's like everybody now is below me anyway. So there was like stuff that happened mechanically in character. So the DM basically sent me, when I made my deal with Tenebris, increased my intelligence, he basically told me, he says like, you now basically have a superiority over everybody. You aren't happy if people know things that you don't know, and you're kind of like obsessed.
Fixing the roof in the Cavani village, where you're like, well, it's rubbish anyway. Storm off.
But there's stuff like, so that's why I started turning on Caspin a little bit, because he was somehow starting to be able to cast magic and stuff, and I'm like, how are you doing this?
Divine soul sorcery in his bloodline.
There you go. So I think, so this kind of brings up a thing where,
well, before you get into that, I did the same thing with Halvor with his dark gift, where I said to him, like, you effectively, people who you feel are weaker than you like to remind them how strong you are and how weak you are, which I feel like Halvor, the player, struggled to always stay on top of doing, because Halvor was a nice character. I used to have to occasionally whisper and be like, be a dickhead.
You have to do that with me. I am a dickhead all the time anyway.
It felt like such a perversion of the character, and being negative all the time just made me feel really sad.
Oh.
Do you reckon that's what stopped you taking the gift, or is it you getting so in bed with Argynvostolt?
I was kind of hoping that maybe Argynvost could grant some boons, maybe not dark Jedi powers in the same kind of way, but maybe the good Jedi, they've got okay powers. Get in bed with a nice deity.
Well, you got that very, very nice shield, which kept getting better and better throughout the campaign. Because I think Strahd even said to Bartanderless when he'd really gone in his pact, was very much like, you're kind of the obvious choice. I'm a little surprised. Because he'd been very, very interested in you, Halvor, because you were being perfectly seduced by Zrin Halar for the longest time. And it just seemed to me like, okay, this is going to happen. And then it felt like at the last moment, you just, like Abu reaching for the gem, but you just kind of, no, I had the bad vibes.
But it felt like again there was some conversations leading up to it between Halvor and Bartandus, where we both knew by that point, like, we're hearing somebody talking to us and they're trying to sell us some bad stuff. And I was like, you can't do this, Halvor, because we need one of us to stay good. I am probably going to do it, and I'm telling you now that I'm probably going to do it to help us.
I'm sure you still were like, oh no, we've both got to say no, and then you were just like, psych.
My fingers were actually crossed. What were you going to say a minute ago? What you said, this brings up something for you. You said, Bartandus.
Oh yeah, about and it's kind of hearing it now, speaking about it now. I think something taking, obviously, and I'm saying this for being self-serving for the next campaign. I think more stuff needs to be foreshadowed. I think there's so many stuff that happen. It's like, well, it's this, and it's like, would have never found that, would have never realised that before. I think there needs to be more times where things happen and then the result happens and we go, oh shit, it's because of that. I think there's too many times where it's missed over.
With some things I agree with, some things I disagree. Like, I don't think I could have made more references to, this raven has blue wingtips, Muriel has blue tattoos all the way up her arms, the family are big into ravens. And then I was so surprised, I almost didn't believe you, particularly Bartandus, when you said that you'd managed to avoid being spoiled up to that point, with the amount of D&D stuff you were into. But when, like, the raven with blue wings turned back into Muriel, I felt like you were all genuinely like, what a twist! It's like, for 2.5 years I've been...
I said to Halvor, literally half an hour before, I was like, I bet that's Muriel. That's fucking Muriel, isn't it?
And I just sat there like...
Oh, yeah, because Halvor knew. I forgot Halvor had known for like 2 years. So Halvor and I used to work together in the same office before I got a good job. And before COVID, we sat opposite each other. And he came in one day just looking like ashen-faced. And he's like, I have been spoiled by something on our campaign. And it was down to Critical Role. Like, in the pre-talk...
I forgot that's what that was.
In the pre-talk before a Critical Role episode, Liam just talks about were ravens, and someone mentions it, and he goes, oh, well, you know, my kids are playing through Curse of Strahd. So straight away he was like, there are were ravens. Shit. And knowing that, like, the Markovs were into ravens, he came in, he's like, I know that there are were ravens. And yeah, you held on to that information very, very well for literally about 2 years. Because we were still in the office, it was pre-COVID that it happened.
When I said it to him, I didn't know that he knew. He was like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So I feel like that's something that I really heavy-handedly kept flagging up.
I think Vasily was done well. I don't think we...
I mean, I think part of the problem is you were really bad at picking up him.
Yeah, Vasily entirely hinge on any one of you going, hold on.
Yeah. So I fully think Vasily was done well. I think maybe towards... Because I think the reveal was very much and here it is on a plate for you. You've now gone far enough and here it is. I think cranking up the obviousness leading up to that, so it's more of a 1 minute as opposed to a about what?
I suddenly know that it was Muriel.
When she landed when we were fighting Sturges.
There was something that was said or happened, and I was like, oh no, because he was like, where's Cora? I was like, Muriel?
Yeah, it was like get Cora or get Ez, something like that. It kind of like just forced out for its beak, and Cora was like, yeah. The problem with Telegraph and Vasily was it was about flags being raised in events. You had that letter for so long, and the second that letter was read, you'd have known. So you had this time bomb, and there were, I think, 2 or maybe 3 different occasions, but like Halvor mentioned, well, we still have this letter, and I was in OneNote, like, get the finger prepared, get the finger prepared, ready, get it ready, and you'd mention the letter again, and I'd be like, and then you keep talking and go off and do something else. It's like, shit, I can't do anything else without Vasily just walking by and being like,
Yeah,
in the street.
I think Vasily was done great. I think it's one of those things where
I hear that Strahd is a very, very cool and sexy, powerful guy.
I think for me it is when there's a reveal, you go, there's a reveal and you go, oh, and then you go, oh my god, yeah, and yeah, and yeah. And I don't think we did it because I think they were so subtle, the things that we could have picked up on, that it went, oh my god, oh, that it's only you saying, yeah, but I did this, and I said this.
It's my fault because I kept being like, oh, there's Strahd's Raven.
I think it's just a hard thing to do. I think it's a hard thing to slowly reveal stuff enough that people catch on. But it's like little things like if I don't know, say like with Emil, yeah, and we met him and he was a Welt, and we'd already met his wife and killed and skinned his wife. Even if it was something like, you know, when we fought them, you knew that we were fighting his wife. If there'd have been something more specific, like, oh, she's got a really strong white-haired mane, and then later Emil's like, oh, my wife, da da da, she's got a long streak of white hair, da da, and then we're like, oh fuck. Us knowing that,
Put your belt away, Caspian.
exactly, as opposed to why is he pissed off at us?
And I think that would have been less real.
No, it's still real, but the reveal of it was, you've killed my wife. Oh shit! And then it kind of links to, you killed your wife. It was more of a reveal than us picking up on it. And I feel like that probably happened more often than us.
I feel like in the moment you clocked what had happened because he didn't confront you straight away. You'd woken up and he was like just stood outside the dome, just like looking at you.
No, I don't.
I know even before he said it, I remember you were like, take your jacket off or something. Yeah. I feel like you got the vibe. Like, I'm very aware of what we're wearing. Oh god.
You're wearing a werewolf in front of a werewolf, like the connection.
Which we got.
Yeah.
But he'd been so cold. I planned that it was getting warmer, and he was able to actually, you know, smell properly a bit. When I wasn't getting like just scorched by ice all the time. It was a bit of like a, hold the fuck up! I smell my wife.
Yeah.
That boy's wearing her.
So I think if there'd have been like an extra obvious clue that we make the connection, then it lands better. Because I feel like one of the things that you did really well, and I'm saying it because I know the gratification of where you go, hold on a minute, was me working out that Madam, I was working out that Madam E, that they were who the 3 sisters were, the ladies 3. I was like, oh shit, and he had this you'd said something, hadn't revealed it, it was obviously building up to it, but I was kind of like, oh, I got it, I worked something out. It's kind of like when you watch a whodunit, it's no good if it gets revealed at the end and then you go, right, yeah, now it makes sense. If you kind of like want to get to it before you're told.
I think it was one of them saying no gift is, 2 different ones said no gift is freely given in different scenarios, and that had tied into something else but you'd read about and you were like,
but
hold on.
I think what it was as well was they kept commenting on Cora or something. They kept making a comment to Cora and the old mate said something similar, and I'm like, hey, you're looking,
I've got this shawl for you.
Oh, don't,
yeah, you're looking really good.
Well.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, I'm pretty sure that they've.
And Jenny did weave a shawl for her.
She did.
Yeah.
Did you notice, Cora, that your character's art is wearing the mariner's jacket that you've had from the start of the campaign, and got used them once. You wore it in Lake. I don't think you ever took it off.
Oh, I did.
You used it in Lake Zarevith. You're still attuned. You're still attuned to it. You're still attuned.
Nice.
Yeah. The magic items they did not come thick and fast in this campaign.
And I gave you more than you should have got. It's crazy. That being said, in the basement of Ravenloft, in the crypts, there was an actual fucking gun. And I think 49 rounds for it. And there was also a luck blade with 1 charge of wish left on it.
Yeah, the thing is, I imagine a luck blade, you have to be attuned to it. how we were going to stop for an hour to attune to anything was never happening. We couldn't even stop for a fucking rest.
I feel like when you know you've got access to the wish spell, you can go, do you know what?
Let's
can
leave.
leave. We
Well,
can
we
leave because...
You already
we'll
said
come
we
back.
couldn't leave. You said we couldn't leave through the doors, didn't you?
No.
Didn't you say that it was good? No, I'm pretty sure that you said once we'd gone in.
I think I said as players, you ain't fucking ducking out of here. Let's go to town and rest up. Like, no. We finished this campaign. God damn it.
Yeah, I think that was the magic items, man. Like I had a magic item that negated magic missile on me. Magic missile didn't work, and the one time it got cast from the dark Cora, the magic missiles off that is magic missiles. Like, oh no, that's not magic missile. Like, motherfucker! It's like the one time I've been casted and it didn't hit me. I had the turtle that made me not take force damage.
Griff.
No,
I think.
What?
That's Griff, isn't it? I think the turtle.
Yeah, it is, yeah. So I never took force damage. The only time force damage was ever given was on Halvor with the Fiddly D Escher. I was like, yes, my time to shine. Hey, look at me. Do me. Oh no, it's psychic damages. So I was immune to magic missile, psychic, and force, and I never got hit by any of them in the entire campaign. I was like, what is this bullshit? Although I did get hit by magic missile once by Morgantha, and she killed me with it. Bitch.
I feel like the magic items raw are just so brutally lacking. Like before Ravenloft.
It was me gonna say, was there any crazy stuff we missed? But probably not that much.
So the gun, there was a lot of stuff in the basement in the crypt in Ravenloft. A lot of those crypts had magic items in.
We were looking for the armory as well, and we couldn't find it.
If you had,
We were down there. We were at the point of do or die anyway.
So Kazan's tomb had inscribed on it, Kazan, his name was power, or his word was power. If anyone had been in there and had quite forcefully gone like, Kazan, in the style of Shazam, the whole pillar stone of Ravenloft shakes. Because remember, Ravenloft was on this pillar of rock. It stood by itself on an island. A massive lightning bolt appears in the room, which would have killed all of you at that point with the HP you had, because it was like 8d8, and you were on such low HP. And floating there in 1 minute to be grabbed and instantly attuned to was a staff of the Archmage, or staff of power, like which Halvor probably knows is like the Excalibur, Lindsay, for wizards. But like, are you a wizard? Then you want that. But you would have died getting it, so it was so bizarre. It made such a bizarre situation. There were quite a few, but so many of them. There were so many combat encounters that you didn't trigger in that basement as well.
There was a good reason we weren't going looking for too much loot, because there was so
We were
much
nearly
chance
dead.
of us dying.
Off the top of my head, different
Spiders
things
would
it
have done us
contained. There were like about 8 giant spiders down there, 2 hellhounds, 4 gargoyles, a load of wights, one that trapped you by falling you into. Like, so you went into like Halvor. You effectively went into Strahd's white storage room, whereas whites were. But that had a ladder out. There was another one that was a pit trap that fell into a pit of I think 6 ghouls, which I think any one of you at that level of being tapped would have just been.
You had 1 HP at that point.
Yeah, I think you had 1 HP for like the last 4 rounds of the fight. I think. Until I did like Strahd's point blank, I'll take you all down with me fireball. I did pull a punch there in that he still had access to a late level fireball, which I think would have taken Halvor down as well. And I thought the least satisfying thing would be for you all to fight so hard, all be wiped out, and then be woken up a few minutes later by the Martikovs going, "Hey, don't worry, he got away. Oh, we killed him. He's in his coffin, or he got away, and now."
Hey, you're finally awake.
Yeah, go and find him. I feel like at that point to have Strahd get away again
When we just
would have
actually
just
killed him.
well, you had at that point you.
Well, we killed
It was
him.
after that. It was after that fireball that Halvor was like, "Fuck off." If he downed you all there and he couldn't have killed the Martikovs, they were too far away. They'd have got you up. It would have been the least satisfying. Okay, yeah, to go find him again then. Let's just do it again. We're just so tapped. So I was like,
Especially the
Frustrated
fireball.
with his whole running away bullshit. Oh,
well, that was a thing. It worked. You only got him because he got you engaged with him at a low enough point that he had no flaws to just go fuck off and just fall through because but that was forced movement, like and he was a centuries old undead 20 intelligence wizard, seasoned battle commander. Yeah, he absolutely would lead you through a merry chase. If you got into the situation with him more often, he was using his lair action. His lair actions included things like he can open, close, or lock any number of doors within like 100 foot of him. So totally, I was gambling on situations where Halvor would bomb it to get to him. He'd lock a door and separate Halvor from the group, disappear dropping through a floor, and things would jump on the rest of the party from behind and just keep punishing them for Halvor leaving them, because Halvor was taking the light of the sun sword with him all the time. We had that with the mislead spell where Halvor's like, but not so fast, I can get to that. It's like, good, great, he's not actually there. Boom. Like,
You know what? And I think this kind of comes into a bit of another foreshadowing thing, because I think fighting somebody like Strahd, where he's obviously really powerful and there's so much that he can do, and he could have done this. I think genuinely it would be better at some point where you find out all the things he can do and you are thinking, right, he might do this, so then you're being tactical. Because as it stands, all you're doing is wandering in the dark and we might survive this, he might kill us at any point.
Because you had several chances for Strahd to start combat with you, and on the first one you literally all threw your weapons down. I'm like, nah, we don't want to find out what you can do in combat, mate.
No, but I mean like a build up, like once you know that you're going to raid.
Exafanta talked about he came here to learn magic and I taught him spells, and I was like, okay, cool, so what books you got? I was like, okay. I don't want to go, would you like to know the spells I taught him? Yeah.
What was the biggest question of the entire campaign? What was that cursed dagger that we got from Mordenkainen?
It was a Nazi era dagger, because it was weird with that, because Mordenkainen hopping across all these different dimensions and multiverses, and that originally was part of my plan to tie into that sweet has gone horrible. Look, that was my plan to tie into the whole one plane moving to another stuff of 15 to 20 content. I realised, obviously, I looked into all those games and franchises you were all into, so I made the maps of the worlds he'd been to. So I've got my OneNote here. Let me just remind myself where Mordenkainen had been to. Mordenkainen's research notes.
Final Fantasy, Dark Souls,
Earth. He'd been to Midgar, FF7, Hyrule, Zelda, Kalimdor, World of Warcraft, Korriban, Star Wars, Windia, which is not Fire Emblem, Breath of Fire, that was it, Lordran, which is Dark Souls, Earth, and Ifaris. I can't remember what Ifaris is.
Isn't that from that dark?
That's your world. That's your world, isn't it? Because it was Residium Powder. That was your world.
Yeah, it was.
Now I found it really weird with having a World War II era dagger, because I thought, in a fantasy setting, there's not really anything else that places it as being very much from Earth, as opposed to just a generic fantasy setting. So I thought, short of it being you recognise this as being an SA-80 assault rifle used by the British Army, I thought a dagger inscribed with blood and air, I feel like that's why we made it cursed, because it's obviously very evil. But I feel like that immediately lets you lock in. That's of a very specific country and time period. Right, shit. This isn't a dagger. This is a dagger from our Earth, sort of thing. It was cursed to hell, because in no way would I ever be rewarding the use of Nazi memorabilia in a D&D setting. It had curses to your intelligence, your wisdom, your alignment. There was blood effects to it, and that it was just the worst.
Did you do anything good?
No, it was just the worst.
And Mordenkainen was happy to trade us for it. What a dildo!
He hadn't spent much time looking at. Yeah, Mordenkainen was not a particularly nice person.
He did say he didn't know what it did properly.
He didn't want to have it. He just wanted to give it to someone else.
Didn't we choose the items?
Yeah. Yeah, you looked
that
through
was,
and you...
That was Dolus though, right? Dolus picked that.
Yeah, screwed.
Probably.
Dollars.
Probably the big supremacist. Yeah, because I felt for a long time... You took the haste gem, the materia... The haste materia. The Estus flask, I feel like, got some mileage. Even though it was really, really weak, it was effectively a rechargeable defibrillator, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just get someone up. There you go. That's that done. Just stick it in a fire
We
next
just
time.
kept forgetting to put it in a fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what else you took.
And do you know what? Actually, that's a fair point. Like, as much as I said, oh, we never had healing potions. Like, we did have a rechargeable one, but it always felt like we needed an extra heal. We were always like running real low.
Yeah. Do any of you have any questions for me or for each other about the campaign?
What would you do different now then, in regards to our characters?
Different players.
Different players. I mean, I would absolutely not be in this campaign.
No, what would I do differently? Well, I mean, like I've said before, I feel like Curse of Strahd is a very difficult campaign to learn, mainly because the order of it's a complex campaign, and the order of the chapters in the book is terrible. It throws things at you, like I think Castle Ravenloft is chapter 3. I feel like they started at, okay, the players enter at this point. What are the things geographically that are present, and we'll chapter it in that order. So I found myself front-loading my knowledge with stuff that was so irrelevant. I feel like the village of Barovia, and I think it was my experience as a DM and my knowledge of the campaign, village of Barovia was wasted. It was a settlement, and you were there for 5 minutes, you met 3 people, and then you left and never went back. I felt like, although I wouldn't have it affect the overall campaign length, I'd have you stick around there a bit longer, not turn up and immediately, hello, I'm the brother of the DM NPC, let me take you to my house and give you the DM NPC in the main quest of a campaign. I feel like I've made some resources for helping other DMs of this, just other shit that's going on in the village of Barovia, so you can be there a little while and then feel like it is, because there's all questions like, how the hell is this place viable? How has everyone not just gone, Valaki, yeah, let's go, and just ridden off down the road and never looked back? So things like that, I would definitely bulk out a lot more, put a lot more depth into. I wouldn't have spent quite so long. I mean, the Tarokka reading was fun, and I did extras of the Tarokka reading. Your own personal cards you each had, that's not part of the reading normally. I just added that so you each had your own little personal thing. I feel like the book really creates the expectation that you need to learn every aspect of this inside and out. This is a really, really important thing. I spent a lot of time learning it for shit that didn't become relevant. I would have, and a lot of people do this, I would have doubled the travel distances everywhere so that you actually had to spend some nights sleeping in Barovia. I don't regret giving you the mansion, because I feel like that could have just easily have been the Blue Water Inn. You having a place wasn't the problem. It was a fact that it was just always so easy to get there. The fact that you woke up one morning in the swamps of Berez and ended that night back at your house in Valaki, I would not want to repeat that. So yeah, I would definitely double.
Make things inhospitable. I did feel like it was too safe, like Valaki.
Yeah, definitely. Even when people like kind of broke in a couple of times, like, you know, the alarm spell helped you with a couple of things, or there's a couple of times where, you know, vampire spawn were outside, but you meant to set the alarm spell, and they had instructions to like, no, not if it's going to cause a ruckus. Because obviously it's easy enough to break into, because you all broke into that mansion to kill Izek. I would have Izek play a bigger part.
That does not make it easy.
No.
Stealth, thank you very much.
There are some characters who, again, I wasn't big in the Curse of Strahd community, and in the book they're really, really flat characters, but having seen what the community do with them, I'd have fleshed out more. Izek, I feel, was entirely wasted. Izek's just this amoral enforcer. I've seen some really, I think someone gave me a really, really good they always see and they play Izek of having the morality of, have any of you watched The Expanse? There's a cat, Amos.
Yeah.
Where he's just like, I will do terrible, terrible things because my friends, or, my adoptive father, in the case of Vargas, has said, hey, do this. Like, okay, yeah, he's in charge, he told me to. And just like, I don't think about it too much. Whereas I feel like I just made Izek, if I loved his art, the custom art I used for him, Izek was just a bit too much of a, I'm clearly here to antagonize you. When a lot of groups end up being good friends with him. Likewise, Victor, I didn't know what to do with Victor too much. He escaped in the coup, which is Raw that he manages to escape. In Raw, if you use the teleportation circle, it's not done properly. And like all things like that, Strahd's kind of like divination magic's happening in my domain. You're trying to, let's just have you come here to that teleport is going to bring you here to Ravenloft. Which, had you ever tried to use the teleport spell, if you'd gotten to their Bartender list, you would have been going not to where you wanted to go, but straight into Castle Ravenloft by yourself. Misty Step being the only exception, because like, I see that place, I'm effectively just Event Horizon and over to it.
Well, so you go into the actual plane with Misty Step. You don't.
Yeah, you don't teleport. Victor I'd have done very differently. Izek I'd have done very differently. I would have brought more elements in that kind of, like, you never really interacted with Vactor's sons or Vactor's daughter, who was alive and bedridden.
Daughter?
She is a cat girl, and I don't mean like some sort of werecat. She is a girl who thinks she is a cat. An acting cat, because she'd been driven to insanity by her betrothed husband, Victor Valakovich, tested magic and necromancy and mind-altering magics on her from the spell book he found, which was the real root of Vactor's grudge against Vargas. There's a lot of for Barovia, but it's more like his fucked up son has all but killed my daughter. But that was one of those plots where it felt like the group aren't too, because if you'd snooped upstairs in Vactor House, you'd have found her locked up daughter, and you'd have found the gentle, reposed, decades dead body of her husband still next to where Vactor slept in her bed every night. Had you gone down to the basement, you'd have found the weird cultist thing that, to be fair, I didn't really go with cult element for Vactor. I probably would have just said, those stairs down to a basement are not there. you don't see stuff. Because I think that's just like, I think Raw, she's like, yes, thank you, you've helped me save Barovia. But the prophecy, if you remember, she bought into a prophecy about, about Vallaki being, after the sun comes, it'll be, rightful rule will come. Part of that prophecy was the people who helped facilitate.
It was. I was the son.
Must be.
No, you're not.
Must be sacrificed. So she was able to. Thanks for that. Unfortunately, you must die. So I think that.
It was her being ambiguous that we did.
I did, and I liked that in that she was more progressive and efficient as a ruler than Vargas. You just always knew. But she doesn't hate Strahd. If there's one thing that Vargas has got going, Vargas hated Strahd, but he still paid the tax. Yeah. So, it was just... Yeah, and that's fine. I think it was good to have a situation that wasn't just, okay, so we're all agreed, that's the goodie? Yeah, okay, we'll help the goodie. It was like, both these people are shit and shifty, but in different ways.
Which one's better?
I mean, that goes for 90% of people in Barovia. Are they good? I don't really know, except for, like you say, Izek. It was like when we stroll into Vallaki, he might have had a big sign saying "baddie."
Yeah, I'd have liked to have built him up more to be like an arc one, like a first act big boss, which I feel like Morgantha ended up being for you all, which was still good. I'd have liked to, and I really, although it was very messy, I really liked how Morgantha was handled in our campaign, other than the fact that was the single worst battle map encounter I've ever used in terms of space, because that windmill is tiny, and there was so, I know even before we count the 7 guards you brought from Vallaki, just for the party and Esmeralda and Morgantha and the 7 dretches she can summon and the swarms of insects she can summon, it's like this is absurd. if I were to ever do that again and have it run like that, I would have it be like, you know, like bloody films, your cartoons and anime do, like, oh, you're all transported to this endless black void on either side. You know, it was terrible. But then I also like the layer effect I made up of the different floors of the windmill all rotating in different directions. So like people getting locked off and trapped, or to your benefit sometimes locked her in with you. Yeah, it was cool. I feel like a lot of things around.
What about all the guards who died immediately when they cast the spell down on the lower
No,
floor?
Vasily killed them all.
What?
Vasily killed them all, and then he tore the pages out of the Book of Names and threw them into the fire, which is why the Book of Names had no names in it, because he saw you getting into onomancy and didn't want you. You know, he has the names, he has the means to divine on people. So yeah, he. That's why he went downstairs, and there was like all these dead guards with ice magic, like they were all like frosted over, even though like no frost magic had been used by Morgantha in that fight, and there was the book was there that had like the pages ripped out, and there was a recent fire going in like the hearth where the pies had been cooked. Yeah, Vasily had just been like, get rid of some guards. I liked how, although the book is very ambiguous on what happens with them, it's like, here's where they live. If you want to start some shit, here's their stat blocks. There's nothing in the book about them going to Vallaki. So there's obviously the Coven effect, so you got involved, and I thought, right, not much is happening in Vallaki. I'm not ready. The book is like, hey, you're at Vallaki. Here are all the fucking quests. And I thought, that's just going to be overwhelming. Because you already, even when I fed you all the quests you were meant to get in one go, in 4 separate chunks. And you even then expressed like, fuck man, we have too much stuff to do. And it feels like everything we do is it like something else fail. So you were at a point where you didn't seem ready to go and start another batch. Things were up in the air or being waited on. So it's like, I can have a pie salesman turn up, and straight away you were like, I think Barty like saw some kids with pies and was like, nope. Hey kids, where'd you get them pies? Some nice lady. Oh my fucking god. So I loved the whole like the whole like negotiations you had with them, where both sides were like betraying each other. I liked the fight against Bella and Athalia. I loved that Lucian was a polymorphed Athalia, and like she threw the kid, and Bart's like, I leap to get the kid, and I catch him, great, and he's biting me. Oh god, he's biting me. It's turned back into a.
For that fight, we had a whole separate group chat to try and strategize, and it all hinged on the hold person spell, and then not people.
No. But I loved that.
That caught me getting the thing when I was in the final fight with the werewolves. I was like, oh fucking hell.
I loved that. I still had those PDFs that you made of Operation Dorothy Gale and Operation Hansel and Gretel, because obviously Morgantha was outside in spider form. Although she wasn't in the fight, she was close enough. She was close enough that the Coven was formed. So you fought a stronger Bella and Athalia, and then obviously that led to another moment I really liked, where one of them goes to run, just sees little old Jenny is stood in the street and is like, whoa, and like flees
Jenny.
And changes to flee towards you all on the guards rather than go near Jenny, because they just felt like the innate. That's why they were really shifty about Vasily. If you remember, they shat themselves about Vasily. When you were fighting them, they were screaming about like, don't hurt us, and like they wouldn't attack him. And I feel like in the midst of combat, that kind of got a bit, is it a ploy or something? They were like, I know who that is, what the hell? And obviously, I imagine we had some.
I distinctly remember them being like, not to hurt Arena, because
they knew. Yeah, they knew of that.
mental.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Strahd was in the room though.
No, not that time. But and then I loved the planning that went into the mission to fight Morgantha. That's where I because she was still just a night hag normally. There were 3 of the same stat block. That's why I really ramped her up quite a bit, because I thought this is becoming a whole. We're going to the tower to kill the witch, who I pulled that nice new art form. I was like, whoa!
Ooh, what was the worst artwork, guys?
Anything official. Because the official.
I don't mean worse. Like which one was like that? Oh no.
The Bellevue.
Spider Bellevue.
Prison.
Spider
Yeah.
Bellevue. Gotta be.
Well,
Spider Bellevue is the only thing that on Curse of Strahd I've had like, dude, trigger warning that shit. Spoiler it, but like, no.
Because Cora wasn't around for that episode, I don't think. So
Was she not?
I feel like we then posted it into the Discord like, this is what we thought, and you were like, oh no.
Oh no. No,
Yeah, that was
but
terrible.
The big artwork that really blew my mind was when I went to touch the Amber Temple, and I saw who was that? Was that Tenebrous?
Which one did you see?
Yeah.
No.
I think I saw Tenebrous as well, didn't I?
No,
It
you
was
saw.
like
The Cold Star
immensity,
thing.
The enormity of
The
it.
Corpse Star, the big worm thing.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you saw the Corpse Star.
Hmm.
I saw Tenebrous, but then you saw Tenebrous showed himself to you guys at the end, didn't he? When
Yeah.
we killed the vampire, he's like, don't fuck with me. It's like,
I thought I'd already seen that. I thought that was
yeah,
the
because
art
the
that I saw.
oh, actually, I don't know.
Yeah, the show me module didn't have the option to only show individual people, so
Yeah,
you all saw the art.
Yeah, because I remember seeing the Corpse Star as well. So yeah, makes sense.
It's what I love. A lot of people go with art for the dark because there's a whole debate about what the dark powers are from like a DM mechanic level. It's like, do you run them as this level of deity, or are they more just like
Cosmic.
demon? Well, I hadn't seen anyone go cosmic with it before me because I found all the art myself. I mean, obviously, someone will have. It wasn't like, okay, thanks. I went and I combed through Pinterest for like cosmic horror, astral horror, knowing the names of them all. And we're like, okay, I'll use that. The only exception was going to be, but I feel like this was before I decided to go cosmic, is Demogorgon was going to be Dolus's. Was a Demogorgon. And then there's another one I swapped out for some reason I can't remember. I decided one was terrible. So I created another one myself and just found here's cool art. I'll make up a similarly weird name for that and put it in. So yeah, you either saw Zadoom the Corpse Star or Delban the Star of Ice and Hate. I can't
I think
remember.
it's the Corpse Star.
Was it?
That was the art that I looked at, and I literally felt the
With that music as well. With that music. I can't really do it on the stream, unfortunately, but I'll show you in the group chat before I kick you all from it. All the artwork of the other dark powers, because they're all just like Jesus Christ, you know. And exactly what Bart said, what you just said, Lindsay, about it is like, yeah, I wanted it to be a case of, oh, okay, we're nothing, are we? Because it isn't like, because a lot of people use for vampire something like, here's the art I use for vampire, and it's like a big bat monster. Nothing that Halvor wouldn't think twice about. Yeah, I'm going to grapple it. I'm going to try and grapple it. That's why I wanted it all to be very much like, no, this is more of a universal concept than an enemy I can go and make I want to make a shield bash. Can it make an athletic saving throw? That you can't. It is entropy.
Well, even right at the end with the avatar of Vampire, like, it was like, it turned out, oh, we're supposed to be fighting it, but I didn't feel like I should be getting anywhere near it.
That combat was really, really interesting. I think this is something that Bart started to talk about before, but we majorly segued in that that's not official content. Lunch Break Heroes. So the big three content creators for Curse of Strahd are Dragna Carter, Mandy Mod, and Lunch Break Heroes. For me, Lunch Break Heroes is by far the best. I used so much of his stuff. The Mandy Mod stuff was good, but came very, very few and far between. So she made things like the Gulthias dungeon. Or the Dragna Carter stuff, you kind of need to apply it for your campaign from top to bottom. Because it's so like into the lore, and it changes all backstories of things. And for me to have found out, like, it was only when we were like at Yester Hill for the first time, I was like, oh cool, people are writing shit for this, are they? I couldn't then go, okay guys, all the things you know to be true have changed. But Lunch Break Heroes does these really, really quick videos that are like, and you can tell he's really into the campaign. So shit that we used for him was like all of the lucid. You're meant to go to Argynvostholt, and there's Godfrey, there's Vlad, and there's Revenants. So I made some more loose where he created these more lucid revenants but had quests. Ideally, a couple of those quests weren't great, but it did turn out that I was pretty much the original playtester for them. He was popping up saying, how's that quest going? It's like, I would not have a quest to go and trace down a family tree unless you were seeing it earlier, and I would also not just have a quest that, although it probably felt easy for you when you were given a list of quests to do, are really tedious. Go and fetch these items and bring them here. It's like, oh, okay, well that's just going to be a narrative afterthought at some point, isn't it? But his stuff was great. He revamped a lot of the early Selenka Pass. He's the first person that was like, hey, why not put Emil in this tower? Because Emil is one of the many, many things that Raw is in Ravenloft. By the time you're in the crypt dungeons of Ravenloft and meeting this guy, you're not going to go off and then head back to the werewolf den. Same for the Skull of Argynvostholt. That +1 to like saving throws and attacks you got for like lighting the beacon, that came from Return of the Skull Raw. The skull is in the Hall of Bones. Do you know what room? It's like, Jesus Christ. Which was Cyrus's, that was a Cyrus's craft project. All the people who die there, he's like, I'd make a lovely room. Do you have a wife, you know? And just set it all up.
Are they thinking that people should be like stopping in and out of Ravenloft?
A lot of groups.
I think we were very cautious though.
You were an
I feel
extremely
like you did a good job
cautious
of putting
group.
the fear in us that Strahd
Cool.
will kill you.
It worked.
He's a big
It worked for
powerful
our.
man.
It worked for our campaign. But if I'd done that and then also kept all these goodies and quest completions in Ravenloft, it would have been shitty. So I enjoyed the very, very respectful fear you had for Strahd, but I adjusted things accordingly so it didn't lock you out of stuff. A lot of groups break in. Just they see. I feel like you were very much like, if we step near there, Strahd is going to know he's going to come for us. A lot of groups can take the approach of, it's a great big castle. He might not find us. We could sneak out and escape. We know Ezra Morelda's been in there. It's possible to infiltrate. So a lot of groups like do heists. If they find out the skulls in the basement, a lot of groups plan. And I feel like if it was one of Argynvost's vertebrae were in there, that's fine. You could sneak in and steal that. But it's like saying, hey, we're gonna break into Strahd's house and steal his fucking dining table. His like 30, it's not a small thing you're trying to steal. It pretty much involves having a wagon parked right outside. It's such a big item that I feel like it doesn't really lend itself to the idea of a break and enter mission. So yeah, a lot of groups do go and do that. What other questions do we have?
Was Danica ever going to be a bigger thing? Because she seemed at the beginning like she was super magical, and I was like, ooh, interesting person. But she kind of just, well.
I feel like she said quite quickly that, you know, her father-in-law just taught her a couple of little cantrips. She had nothing above cantrip level.
I felt she said it, but I didn't.
I think maybe because she was so aloof and mysterious and kind of cold, made us more interested.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of overdid her business front aloofness as a means of highlighting what a pal Erwin was to you. And Erwin was like, you know, free food and well, because again,
Don't tell the wife.
yeah, because again, straight away, from the moment you were doing shit in Barovia, Ravens was like reporting back to Davian, who's like, hey, these people don't like Strahd. So they were keeping an eye on you.
Really well.
They were keeping an eye on you. He knew from both the Ravens and from Muriel's involvement that you would like put your necks on the line to break in to try and rescue some kids, which is why they were like, you eat for free. It's fine. It wasn't be friendly. They were actively aware that you were doing good shit. Yeah,
That was coming from them rather than just from him. Like,
how do you mean?
How nice. What's his Isma?
Erwin.
Well, Erwin was part of the Keepers of the Feather. His dad was David.
Nice to us because of his dad's feedback being like, yeah, they're protecting us, rather than, oh, just don't tell my wife, I'm a nice dude.
Well, he's clearly a nice guy because he could have chosen to go, okay, cool, £4.50. You know, business is business. He was a nice guy, but he definitely had that awareness of you're doing your potential allies, and two of you were for a very long time. until one of you killed him. Because I loved your reactions as a group when you were walking down the road, like, oh yeah, and you see Owen and Danica like kicking, hanging by their necks on ropes, and you're like, oh, and it was that great whole thing of there was no caution. I'm kneeling over him, I'm on timers, okay, the ghoul starts biting you. It's like, motherfucker! Combat start.
Out of character was horrified that you might have killed them off without even giving us a chance to do anything about it. I would have been so upset.
Strahd does for a lot of people. A lot of groups get so Strahd scared and won't go to Ravenloft. It's pretty much like abducting people, killing people until you come to me. Well, you didn't know that at that point. But yeah, a lot of groups need... That's why I like the fact that although we were really thorough and we looked at loads of things around and we did do loads of side quests and all sorts of things, the group were very much like, oh, make no mistakes, we're going to fucking Ravenloft. And I think you did the right thing narratively of the second we pop this last Thane, we need to get up there quickly because he's obviously going to be like, okay. Because he felt the loss of each Thane. And each Thane cost him mechanically. So if you hadn't done any Thanes, he would have been... I don't think I'd say much. He would have had, I think, an extra... He would have had some more resistances. He would have had an extra AC. So an extra 2 AC. He had an air of... He had a permanent aura of non-detection until you got rid of the Seer's Thane, but you never tried to scry on him. Because I imagine that... But Bartander's the only one who could. I'd imagine that Bartander's immediately expected has been like, yes?
I thought we did try and scry on him at one point. Really
Did you?
I never used it. I never used scrying.
I imagine that Bartander's just knew that would be like a... Do you want to...
That's
what
not a good idea.
Yeah.
No, it was just a case of I just had too many spells to choose from. It was like, oh, okay, scrying. I think I always had it prepared, but at the time it was such a high level spell. I was like, I can't really justify using it. And we had so little downtime in between having to do stuff. I never really got to do any of the fluff things.
If you were a pure wizard, there probably would have been more of that as well.
He was for a while. He was pure wizard and pure cleric for a few months.
It was I had scrying through cleric. So once I don't know, but I couldn't do it at first because I didn't have I had the Nothic Eye originally for using it to scry, and I got Dolus's Horn for listening. But yeah, that was I always felt like there wasn't enough downtime to do stuff, especially with my character. There's so much to read. We only finished Strahd's Tomb like so late in the fucking campaign. I think and I think that's probably why the mansion never got used to build the mansion up. It was like we're always like, God, we're having to go here and now we can't stop because somebody's been kidnapped and this is happening, or these now are going to do this. You're like, which is good in some ways, but I think because of the way that Barovia is set up and the things that we wanted to do, there was definitely I just need a breather. I just need there was I think it was probably 2 or 3 times where it's like, you have now completed big story arc. Have a week of rest until want to carry on. But
we were effectively playing for the longest time in real time.
Yeah.
Which doesn't lend itself to downtime. We had that. We joke. I've joked a few times about that day involved in the Abbot where we realised that a day had been 9 3-hour sessions long, and we're like, this day has been longer than the actual day it would have taken place in. What's going on here? I'm definitely
6 seconds less than an hour. That's not surprising.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to be more wary of that in future campaigns. Things like time management, downtime management, inventory management is a big thing for me. I feel like because the campaign was so long and was so detailed, and I wanted it to be a campaign where it involves reading and backstory and going and researching books, and there's not many magic items in the campaign. The temptation was always there to look up things, but and you find a couple of little bags of this or some minor item, and because they weren't really used, it led to so much stock take before Ravenloft. And I don't think I'd go with one person being responsible. I've already talked about for my next campaign, the inventory management through magical means is going to be shared, because I don't think it's fun for anyone in a group when one person is the bag holder.
I didn't think it was that big a deal. I honestly didn't, because I think a lot of the items that we have was just fluff garbage stuff that I was collecting. I'm like, that might come in useful at some point. Maybe I'll use that. So
I
I
mean-
started building the thing. That didn't really bother me.
I had a few of those kind of level of trinkets that, like you say, are kind of low-level magic items, but unless it's a really specific scenario, God, if they require attunement, got no chance.
Yeah.
Can't afford to waste an attunement slot on a like little play toy, you know.
Well, I think looking back,
In
I
the
think
end, we
even
thought
like the
because we
amber,
didn't get stuff.
yeah, I think even the amber turtle required attunement. I think just really basic stuff.
Well,
Ring
that's
of
the thing.
jumping,
Ring
attunement.
of jumping.
Yeah.
The
Oh, I forgot about that.
The
I don't
eyeglasses
think
of
I
charming.
wore it for ages. I don't think I ever used it.
Did I end up using the eyeglasses of charming on
Not
anyone?
once. Not once.
I feel like maybe the ring of jumping or something could get a bit of a nerf, but then just not require attunement. Like maybe you can only do it a few times a day, but then it doesn't require attunement because attunement is such a big cost.
Yeah.
Gloves, the gloves of arrow catching. Never used them. I had them. Never got a use.
So,
To be
wait,
fair, there
wait for
weren't-
him to
there
take them
weren't that
off.
many archers.
Fire.
There weren't that many archers in Barovia.
It's
A
me.
couple
The
of the whites
white,
had
yeah,
bows.
yeah. But
Yeah, but still,
It was
most
me
of the
and
time they were
Muriel
stabbing
that were on
us.
our side.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel.
Strahd would have loved the arrow catching gloves.
I think I think the items. So the thing is, we got Dunning-Craig, which just had time to shine. We got the Sun Sword, and I got my cape of spider climbing. That was like the default for my tactics with every combat once I got spider climb, which was great. I loved it, but it's like outside of those three, there was not really. I mean, obviously your shield was pretty good. There just wasn't that much use for any of the stuff that we have. So I think if you want to go down the route of magic items and not making them so imbalanced in Barovia, I would personally go down stuff with charges and consumables. If you don't want to give people items, just give them stuff that, you know, even if it's consumables, it's like, okay, with the way Barovia is, this magic's going to fade in a week. You've got to use it. Don't stop.
oh, I see what you're saying.
Like
It has
a
a lifetime when you get it. Because I feel like charge stuff, and the thing I hate with magic items is when you use the last charge, roll a d20. If it's a 1, it's destroyed forever. I feel like all that means is, well, okay, no one ever uses the last charge. And potions and things that are unlimited charges, I feel like people are always like,
Stockpile.
not
Skyrim.
today. Like one of the players from my Demi-Planes campaign was looking at what items to start with, and they were like, "Hey, this is really cool. There's a white plume acorn or something. It's like if you burn this acorn in a fire when you're taking a short rest, everyone gets the effect of a long rest." I was like, okay, well clearly that's a one-off. Yeah, it doesn't say it in the item, but clearly that's a one-off consumable. Or yeah, but like, oh no, because I know what would happen. I'd keep hold of that forever, waiting for the right time to use it, and then at the end of a campaign, be like, well, fuck it, just throw the
Like
acorn in.
that with a lot of the stuff that was, it'll renew on a new day when there just wasn't.
There is no new day.
But then when it was a new day, it was great because I had that. If you roll it and you could work out which.
The animal thing.
Yeah, the animal thing.
Bag of tricks.
When I got to use that, that was great.
I really one of my biggest regrets was that when we were in McGull Fire's tunnels, you didn't roll a stag for that, like an elk, just like this giant. There was a moose. It was a moose. I was like, oh God's sake!
Bargain boss, I think.
No, I thought that was there. Did we not get the elk there?
Did you ever?
did an elk.
No, you got to die a wolf in the tunnels because you're like, Rhymefang, stay outside. Poof, here's another wolf.
Yeah,
One of my favourite encounters, one of my favourite dungeon crawls was going through McGull Fire's tunnels because I feel like so I made that map myself in bloody Dungeon Draft, and then I just layered like token FX magic on it and made it really dark, smoky, reduce the visibility, and it got to exactly the same sort of claustrophobic. Oh fuck, which way? And it also led to one of my favourite moments of a campaign, which is the Otagu is killed. Let's follow the corridor around. Otagu, get ready! And it was the same. It was the corpse of the same one that you just killed, looped around. Really, I laughed so much at that.
This is a theme with Curse of Strahd that I think is, I don't know if it's because we spent so long there and it took numerous sessions, and I know it was designed to be claustrophobic and dark and oppressive.
Really confusing.
But when you spend several sessions doing it, it's like, oh no, can we just leave?
That's exactly what I was aiming for, and I think that makes it all the sweeter when you dig through that earth at the end. And I love playing that first little bit of bird song audio when you're all like, oh, it's not it's an actual bird, and it's like, yes, it is. That it?
What?
No, it's not the sun. Don't get your hopes up.
It's the
Yeah.
moonlight.
Yeah, that moment where we're in that cave, the big cave at the end was just, It's
There's another-
oh, here's a big fucking zombie made of fucking zombies.
So
Yeah,
the
oh,
amount of
it's
stuff, there was so much stuff down there because you couldn't be killed.
Yeah.
You couldn't be killed, and it was so easy for you to go, oh, I'm just gonna dash. So you can dash, but now this are all in one dash. You know, especially if you're Halvor with his dashes. Yeah, totally. So you had like the zombie clot, which you got rid of at the start. There was the grave behemoth, which is a thing that was like ripping zombies out of its own guts and throwing them over at you.
This silver trail coming from these people.
Yeah.
Fuck
The
my life.
adult Oblex with like his old adventurers but had been assimilated by it. Which I enjoyed, like you talking to. I don't know if I said this at the time, but that session ended with Bart being like, okay, I've got an idea what I might do. And I thought he knew about Oblexes, and I thought the next session would start from going, I use mold earth and I'm just slamming back shut on the tendril, on like the strings, which would have made all the visions go poof, disappeared, and it would have been trapped in the wall, and you'd be like, all right, okay, let's go. Do you not?
No,
Just
no,
be
I
like-
wouldn't have had it prepared.
Yeah, I thought as an encounter you were just going to go, no.
No, well, I figured I need to destroy. I knew I needed to try and destroy the strand. The problem was that when I realised it, they all saw that I'd seen it. So it's like I was then surrounded by 3 people. I was like,
Because I think
well,
even told him, I was like, you had to look, lad, didn't you? And you're like, yeah, I did. Okay, come on.
and I thought I'm just gonna get out of it. I think I had fly. I think I was flying and dropping fucking napalm bombs.
Yeah, you were throwing you were drifting over, chucking down alchemist fire.
The problem was the problem in combat always was that I tried to stay in character about it. So I was always like, right, I'm gonna do this, and I start like running in direction, and then everybody else got, okay, then yeah, we'll come. Like, I didn't want them to fucking come, but
Stay
I was
away,
in character.
stay away.
But I
I've
don't
got
wanna stay
a
in character.
plan. There's japes coming.
Yeah, so there's always that kind of like staying in character, because it makes sense that I don't shout out, I'm gonna go over here, and then when they can't see me, I'm gonna go and do this, because then in character, you know, I'm a victim of my own.
You could have
Making.
messaged us.
It's always in action, though, isn't it?
Weren't you both on? No, you were both
There's a
charmed.
Used up.
Weren't you charmed?
No,
Yeah, but they
know what was
made
going on.
memories. Yeah, because the Oblex eats memories. Yeah.
That was the thing, but they both knew, like, once I was running and I was being attacked, like, Halvor was like, I can't remember what's going on, but I know that he's my friend, so, let's fight. But then he decided, like, I'm gonna run into the darkness and fight this. Oh, fuck me, what's this?
Oh yeah, because that's how you get hit in 0. Because it was just like no.
Yeah, the big
I was
zombie
like,
thing
"Ah,
in the dark, and then
God."
all the other zombies come flying around you while we were on the owls flying about, pricking about.
Yes, owls
I don't
win.
remember how much damage it did. I just remember getting absolutely splattered by that giant thing.
Yeah, it had
So
some
lucky
big
that-
damage.
It was the owls.
You were fortunate that the DM was like, nah, you fall unconscious, but you know, you still got hold of the sun sword as you get picked up. It's like, okay.
Yeah, the sun sword being down there. I mean, if I hadn't done that, it would have been like, I'm sorry, owls, but your job is to go and desperately try and pick up that sword. Even if we sit here for a couple of days,
Well, no.
and I get recasted it.
It wasn't because I think they'd already attacked and it was already clarified, I think, that they were normal zombies. So I was like, my time to shine. Channel divinity, turn undead, can destroy half of these. It's like, no, it's alright, he gets the sun sword. I'm like, every time I thought, here's my moment. I was like, I'm on the bridge. I'm gonna go underneath, and I'm gonna be under the bridge, and I'm gonna first of all I'll use thaumaturgy so that everybody can hear me chanting, and then I'm gonna use turn undead to turn all this horde of people. It's like, okay, so this isn't gonna be a real combat. This bit, it's like, and they just keep coming. I'm like, not much point in, is there? And then was fight. Then it was when we were just outside the bone room, and Halvor. When we were looking for Strahd, maybe, and Halvor and Ez went in, there's like loads of skeletons arose, and I'm like, my time to shine. No, I think your time to shadow beam is gonna fucking crit you. I'm like, what the fuck? It's
And I was
I'm-
just there trying to help you, like, oh.
It was just like, oh, Matt's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get this child divinity. I think I barely ever got the chance to use Turning Dead. And that was the thing.
You used it to scare some vampire on the Selenka bridge.
And you used it.
That's all I remember.
Right at the end, when we were fighting Vampire.
Yeah.
And you were like, don't attack the one that's running away.
Yes. I wait for Cora to be like, I got you. It's like, don't. Yeah, that last encounter was, I was telling Bart about this. I nerfed that encounter quite a bit. The lanterns play a much more punishing role. Not Raw, because Raw there is no vampire. That's something that Lunchbreak Heroes made, and it's really, really good. It's really complex, but I felt like just a bit too for a group our size. Also, managing all the lantern maintenance would have been a real problem. So the lanterns kind of quickly became a bit of a non-mechanic, and why I had Van Richten on standby for, like, if you did absolutely stutter, you'd get one round. Well, you'd bring him in at a point where it's going to fail, because Van Richten's whole thing, like he said to you, like Esmeralda said, was he was actively avoiding you. You had to really go hunting for him, because his whole thing was, I just came here so that when this girl dies and he goes back into his slumber, I'll creep in and I'll stake him and I'll get killed, but that'll be done. So he was like, I'm not throwing in with this lot, because then if we fail, nothing happens. So it's sad that Esmeralda's with them, but if they fail, because obviously Irina died, and he was like, okay, cool, but then Strahd was focused on you because you killed Irina. You made him kill Irina. Look what you made me do. That sort of stuff. So he was actively waiting out your death so that he could go in and get it done. But then obviously Strahd was dead. He saw the bigger picture of Vampire and turned up. That's why, if you remember, before it happens, you felt your thoughts being read. Because you were Bart, because you were skimmed the book, you weren't able to speak, and you felt your thoughts being skimmed by Van Richten coming up, because he's looking up and go, just get that from me. He's like, yeah, hold on. He was reading this out, and it made for a cool arrival for him. But then, yeah, he also just got. Well, he got dragged into the ring with the aspect of blood, same as Esmeralda. They died together.
Yeah, I don't know if a big party would make a massive difference in the balance of that. I did think that encounter was super cool, and the art and the music and everything very climatic, but we were spending so much time just trying to not die and fend our vampire spawn that if the lanterns and stuff are involved,
and the vampire spawn rolls were really bad, as in they were really fortunate for you, because that was 1d4 minus 1, and you could do it every round. So you could have been getting 3 more rolling in. The things that made me laugh, what I thought were unfortunate about that, is Bartandelus effortlessly reading off all the stanzas and then being incapable of casting a single fucking spell. And I think 5 rounds in a row where Halvor was
dragging someone.
Halvor was doing a bleep test. He was just in and out, like, okay, back in again, yeah, I'm gonna drag him out. And it was a point for me where, like, I remember my Twitch chat at the time were like, do they not realise they need to be fighting this? Because it's summoning more and more things, and they're just getting
we got it.
Nothing you can do. There was no opportunity for it. It's like no one.
It was fine.
Which I really like that use of owls to be like, not just combat encounter. Fuck you, DM. It's like they're scanning and they're alerting. It's like this I can deal with absolutely. Go on, Halvor.
I was just going to say, I was 100% convinced that we would need to complete the ritual and then it would just go away.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
No, I didn't. No.
Yeah, but
I knew
as soon as a
a
combat map turned up, I imagine Bart was like, right, okay.
If I'm honest, I thought that when we killed Strahd, I didn't really contemplate we'd have to kill Vampire as well to get out. I thought, kill Strahd, Mistslip.
The abbot literally fucking told you.
Oh, God,
and Exafanta told you. Well, the sun went out for over a real-time year that was no light in Barovia. Which seems crazy to me, but that was a year's worth of sessions.
It doesn't, because the amount of things I couldn't use for that time.
I couldn't change my cleric spells for a year.
Your bag and your magic bow charges.
Well, the magic bow charges were a big deal.
It was when it was fully awakened, because it was something like, I think it was effectively you get one blast of the magic missiles, and I think like a 13th level wizard in terms of damage. And you could just I loved that you never went, I'm gonna send a dart over here, I'm gonna send a dart over there. I feel like you used it 3 times, and all 3 times it was just like I'm fucking sending them a lot. Vladimir, you were just like, he's eating all of it, he's having the fucking lot.
Yeah, that's what it was for. It was a fuck this shit kind of situation.
And it wasn't even just high-level magic missile, because it was doing, as well as the big flat bonus of +5 by the end or whatever, it was doing 2d4 instead of 1.
Yeah.
So it was like a big deal.
Yeah, but so I love that you weren't just like one over here. It was always just like, it was like her arm. I always envisioned, and I thought I was annoyed that I couldn't get right about your token, unfortunately. It for me, the arm just opened up into one. It was very... I don't watch a lot of anime at all, but there's an old anime that I really liked. I think it might be late 80s, and it's called Trigun. And the main character in that, his arm just it's some huge weapon he can't control. And I always imagined it being very much a Korra's arm like folds open into this bow thing. Were you happy to get your hand back at the end?
Well, my hand was still in the bag of holding.
Well, no, but you remember that the bark all came away.
Yeah.
The bark came away, and you had the hand, but with the faint the vines and stags tattoo. Korra could still summon Drunigtra after that.
What? So what?
It would have been like a spectral bow appeared in her hand when she needed it. Not the flesh being like, ah!
Would it have been a functional bow?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I.
And she needs to carry on playing the campaign now.
A stump I couldn't use. That was what I thought. That was always going to be my little memory of.
I could tell. Yeah, and I remember when you lost it, even though you immediately had this wooden functional hand. You were just like, my fucking hand. But I thought, I can't leave her without a hand. I feel like she would not find it a good ending at the end.
I think she'd have been fine by that point. But at the beginning when she lost, it was still like early into you playing D&D. You were so cheesed off that you'd lost her and like, what's the fucking point now?
Yeah.
Fucking ridiculous. So it just takes my fucking hand off, does it? Brilliant. It's like, yeah.
Cheers, dear.
But you get an awesome bow, so just hold it right there. Hold your horse. Okay.
Well, don't you think that that's pretty in character though? Like if I just gone, oh, I've got a wood hand now, that's fine.
Oh yeah, it was Korra that was pissed off.
I really liked.
It was pretty shock horror.
Although I enjoyed ribbing you all the way through the campaign, I very, very much like your growth as a player. Yeah. From the initial transition, to me, it felt like it was okay, Alex is into this. I'll give it a go. And it felt like you just, for the longest time, there was I'm not enjoying learning this. I don't like that. I feel like something happened at some point where you just really, really got into it.
There was some points where you were like, oh yeah, it's thingy because of such and such, and we all just go, oh, who's arrived?
Yeah, as much as it was always fun to like when you'd say something good, be like, yeah, good point, Alex. Like, no, it was me.
Oh God, that annoyed me so much.
It was actually my idea. Tell them, Alex. Tell them.
Alex is playing 2 characters.
Yeah,
in combat.
Always fun to do. But I really like your group. I like what you said when we finished as well. In that, although you don't know if you'd want to go in for a full campaign or certainly a 3-year one, you'd definitely be up for doing like more shorter, one-off, much more light-heart. I've been running some light-hearted stuff on the side. Although
I feel like I've developed so much of an understanding of it now that it'd be waste. It feels like, you know, when you get a board game and you finally understand it and you're like, yeah, I get it. And now it's over. It's taken me 3 fucking years, man.
That's the longest game of Monopoly you ever played.
No, I've played longer.
No, it's good.
Lost.
Well, we are coming up on what would be our normal session length. Do any of you have any other questions?
Loads, you know.
Yeah, I have.
Go for them. I'm happy to say I've got whiskey. I can stick around much later. I just don't tell my boss I'll get drunk.
Well, if we start, I'm getting some more wine then.
Okay. Yeah. Well, what was your question, Alex?
So there's two more items.
Order a pizza in a minute. Go on.
What was the curse on the mirror?
Ooh, so the curse on the mirror changed depending on your.
Does Halvor know the curse on the mirror? About the curse on the mirror?
I don't remember.
The mirror in the
The
mansion.
one that was in, yeah. I think
Well,
you've mentioned it, but I didn't have a huge lot to do with it, so I didn't really pay attention.
So I was told at the time, I think I was told in private, there was like a little saying that I had to say, and if I named somebody, I think like a shadowy assassin would go and kill them or something like that. Right, Jim?
Yep.
Depending
Depending on your alignment.
Depending on your alignment. Okay, I can't remember that bit. But yeah. So
Well, it changed so often from the company.
Yeah. So the only time I nearly used it was
I don't even. Yeah.
Strahd fight.
In the church. Yeah. Church of St. Andrews.
Yeah. So I was gonna.
Because you were making to book it, weren't you?
Yeah. I was gonna bomb there. I think it was to kill Ludmilla.
I don't think the plan ever got as far enough as you specifying. I'm just finding it now because I can't remember the exact. Where are we?
That's it. So there was that, and then there was another. I can't remember what it was. There was something bad.
Here we go.
Somebody pissed me off, and then there was a night when we're in the mansion, and then I just went to the mirror in the dark, and I was just sat there in the dark.
Oh.
In the mirror. I can't remember who pissed me off though.
I don't think it was Vactor. I think it was someone bigger than Vactor.
Yeah, it would have been. If I was going to potentially take a curse, then it's definitely going to be somebody bad.
I can't remember who it was, but yes, someone really, really pissed you off.
Yeah. I was going to go and just say the name.
Cora Lightfoot.
Because wasn't it Halvor came into the room when I was in the dark?
Yeah. Okay, so the mirror. There's quite a lot to the mirror. Let's have a look. Mirror, mirror on the wall, summon forth your shade. Night's dark vengeance, heed my call, and wield your murderous blade. The entity would step out of the mirror. A nameless assassin who once belonged to a secret society called the Balvertzi. That's something I seeded a little bit of a Balvertzi in. There's a book called Strahd, which is a novel about Strahd as a man. It's a slightly different timeline, Strahd. And the Balvertzi are like an assassin's order that like tried to assassinate him when he was a man. That was the dagger he used and killed Sergei with on his wedding day, the Balvertzi dagger, which was going to be Dantalion's artifact. But where are we? So if a creature speaks around within 5 foot, the assassin's ghost comes by. Right, non-evil summoners. If the summoner isn't evil, the spirit assumes solid form, appearing as a darkly handsome 30-year-old man with bloodshot eyes. He has the statistics of an assassin but doesn't speak, and he disappears into the ether if reduced to 0. You can command him to kill one living creature within Strahd's domain, but the summoner mentions by name. The assassin automatically knows the distance and direction to the named target. He attacks any other creature, tries to prevent them from... so basically, you send off an assassination mission. If the summoner is evil... the ghost manifests as a pair of floating bloodshot eyes and strong spectral hands, and they try to wrap themselves around the summoner's neck and kill them. Unless the person you name, that's all boring stuff about this. Where are we? If a character touches a mirror and speaks Strahd's name, there is a 50% chance that Strahd takes notice and appears on the mirror's surface and comes out the mirror, tries to come out the mirror and charm you. So if you went for the obvious and used it to kill Strahd, Strahd just steps forth like,
no,
you idiot.
So it wasn't like an instant kill, it was still an assassin. So if you were going against Ludmilla, it would have done nothing. She'd been like,
it would have created an assassin stat block to come and boss and fight with you.
Still, it's like a level 3 assassin, so it wouldn't have mattered much for it.
I think CR4. I thought assassin was CR5 actually for an assassin.
But what's Ludmilla?
Well, at that point, she hadn't been super buffed that much because we went to 15 to 20 plans. She had all the Dunamancy spells, which I loved. My favourite thing of that encounter, where everyone makes a protective thing around Arena in the middle of the church, and then she just spider climbs onto the ceiling. Reverse gravity, you all hit the ceiling, take fall damage. She grabs Arena and then cancels the concentration on the spell, and the rest of you go back down again. 2 lots of fall damage in like 1 round, and she's like got Arena on the ceiling. You're like, fuck! That was, I think for me, that was my favourite like combat. When I say
Assassin
win,
is a challenge 8 monster.
Assassin, is it? Wow.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's got 80 HP and assassinate and evasion, sneak attack.
So I'd say-
Have done me in.
yeah, I'm trying to think what other really good combat moments were for me. The combat moment I wish I'd been cruel enough
Listen,
to use
shut
on
up,
you
Pete.
all. Okay, don't take the microphone with you.
The microphone's here.
Oh no, oh no. The combat moment I wish I'd been evil enough to do, but it would have been a TPK because you're also low health. I think I mentioned this before. When you all leapt down after Strahd, down the tower in Ravenloft, and and Featherfall at the end, I really wish I'd been evil enough to have Strahd go, counterspell, and then he'd be like, ah, and I'll just hit the floor at full speed. But that would have been like, I think, 7 floors, so 8, no, about max 10d6 fallen damage on everyone at a point where I think only Halvor had more than 30 HP at that time.
Like
It would have been-
TPK for falling.
Well, exactly, and that was a pressure that really built up on me. I hadn't expected where it's like, yeah, I'll kill the group. Yeah, this can lead to a TPK, but then it was like, do you want to tell someone that you played Curse of Strahd for 3 years and then wipe the party in the last boss's castle to fall damage? But it's like, shit, because I thought I can't do that because no one, if you would engage with Strahd would have, he would have killed you all off. If you'd stuck with him, or if you create opportunities where it's like, right, I'm going to stay here, and you got into it with him, I would have. But I feel like just hitting the floor and being turned into jam is not a narratively satisfying conclusion to a 3-year campaign for anybody.
I think part of that is that we do go for a pretty, and I think we all enjoy a more narrative style of game, which is why it lasts so long. But people do Curse of Strahd over 10 weeks or whatever.
No
It's
way.
hot. It's horrible to me. I see so many people on the Curse of Strahd Discord be like, "Well, guys, it's been a long 3 months, but today Strahd was finally killed." I'm like, "What? We were in the Selenka Pass for 9 months."
But if you were doing that kind of game, I think it would be less harrowing to, not pull punches. If I was gonna play Strahd as Strahdy as he could possibly be, where if it was no holds barred, then it wouldn't
I don't
fit
think you
well
beat
in
him.
such a long session
No.
because you would die too quickly.
Strahd should be unbeatable. I should have had Strahd go phasing through the wall into one of the crypts he couldn't get into, or Strahd could have gone into any one of those. He could have headed off in one of those directions. You wouldn't know exactly what crypt he was in. He knows it's in the crypt. He could have been baiting you into opening crypts that had things in. He could have done that a couple of times and basically used the crypts as safety spots to go step away, and you could chase him around that castle forever and just never get him.
I'd have liked to see more spells from him. I feel like we saw 4 or 5 fireballs. I think there would have been better options than.
I changed his loadout. I changed
Even something I think what would have been cooler, instead of suddenly, fuck it, fireball. You've been hit by the fireball. If you've been oh shit, here's a cloud kill floating towards you down the fucking thing. It's oh shit, this is gonna kill you if it gets to you. I think something like that. I think seeing more spells from the boss.
Yeah.
Might be quite cool. But it's good because the thing I did like is that generally we weren't fighting Strahd on his own. At first, I think we did. When we found him in the heart room.
So that's part of it. So that's part of a Taraka reading. So the way that the destined location works is he can be other places around the castle, but the first time you go here, he will absolutely be here by himself. And what all the locations is he's always doing something. He was pondering over the lost, the crown of his lost legacy in the chest when you found him in there. I was really, really unsure and dissatisfied with our choice of destined location because I felt like it's something that is either A lot of groups just fly straight into the top of a tower, so you could have got to him immediately. You turn up in Ravenloft and he's like, hello, which is
It's
good.
a boring room to fight him in first because there's nothing there.
Yeah, which is why I love making use of the escape route. Or if it's the last place you get to, it's like, oh, it's got the top tower then, hasn't it? You're all just like, okay, let's go. And I feel like that was a very, very easy way to TPK when he's just like, you are all so far. Because his whole strategy was just forever going to be separate Halvor or the Sun Sword and then just work people. The only reason he didn't do that when Halvor went up in the lift is because he was still regenning quite a lot. He was still only on about like 1/3 of his health. So I thought he's not going to engage like that. Once Halvor's... But then you did... For how little knowledge you had, you took some really interesting and really useful routes. Like the fact that you, whilst not seeking Halvor, you found your way to Halvor within 10 minutes in game. He went up, and as he was working his way down, he fought and killed the giant rug. I really thought we were about to have a one-on-one Halvor-Escher conversation. I think Halvor would have put the Sun Sword out to converse with Escher. If it was just him, I think. But Bart was having no trust from Bart there with that. He was ready to have him. Even when he found out he came from your town.
I was considering that he could be on our side.
A lot of groups try to do that. It even specifically mentions in the book that, yeah, Escher is forlorn and he feels neglected and overlooked. He will absolutely go a long way with the ruse of helping the party, and then he will lead you straight to Strahd.
Yeah,
but like,
not in a thought.
Yeah,
I was of the opinion that because he was like, oh yeah, I hate Strahd. I was like, if he says he will help us, he will literally try and fuck us over at the best point, so that he gets back in Strahd's good graces.
Totally, that's exactly what the book says. Yeah,
I was so disappointed that we fucked over murdering him so badly.
Oh, do you know? I feel like that. I feel like a lot happened in one round with him. I feel like everything happened maybe a bit too quick for him to get away. Because I think we were all kind of like very mindful. Like he's probably going to try and get out of the window, but then it's like he's gone, he's opened it, he's gone, and he's gone. It's like, and he's already gone in like a round. It's like.
Yeah, there
okay,
was
fair.
nothing to do, was there?
Yeah, there was no stopping. Like
it's a thing with the specifics of Ravenloft being so mapped out. Like, yeah, he dropped out onto the roof, which is just above the lip, to go onto the parapets, and then you've got access to 2 different staircases. It's so even without spider climb, because it's Ravenloft has some crazy shit for like effectively traveling huge distances in one round, especially if you drop down.
That was what dropped a hint to me that I needed to start stowing the shield more, because I didn't grapple him because I had a shield in one hand and the sword in the other, but then he stepped away and I had one shot at Sentinel to stop him from moving and it misses, so he's just gone.
And yeah, he went straight.
And I have no ranged options, so
if you're not next to a token, your lightsaber animation would throw. I always like that. Yeah, but there was so much being tracked in Ravenloft and going on, and there was so much stuff you didn't get. Like Vanya was obviously charmed because it would have been too easy just to turn her, because once you have the Sun Sword, hi Vanya, oh you're on fire. Well, okay, you're okay, fair enough, never mind. So she was just charmed. If you'd kept her with you, she absolutely would have been trying to lead you astray towards Strahd without realising it. The brazier room, I think I told Bart about this. Strahd gets around via use of a room with like a teleportation device in, which is a large brazier with coloured marbles, and there's a rhyme that can be read about, and there's different coloured marbles, and each one thrown in turns the brazier into, like, the flames go this colour, and stepping in teleports you. There are set locations. This is how like Anastasia and the wolves turned up in the tower on the Selenga Pass like so fast and so immediately. If a group had messed around with it, I was gonna like just mercilessly do it. There was a big chance, but a bit of fucking around could have sent one or any of you straight back to the Amber Temple. Just like no, and it isn't the sort of teleport. Isn't the sort of teleport where you can go, Oh, no. Oh, I wish I'd had the Amber Temple background ready on the green screen to go, nope. So there's things about that, and that's where a lot of parties TPK, because it's a small room that has a big iron statue in each corner, which are iron golems. And the whole big strategy is, when the group are in here, Strahd, and they activate on receiving any damage, and iron golems are like the iron giant Cora with a huge cleaver sword, and they also exude this like sleep or paralysis gas. And the strategy ever does is the room locks, so if they take any damage, they activate and the doors lock, the doors seal to the room. Similar groups have Strahd go.
The Iron Golem stat block that they would have absolutely annihilated us.
Two of you in a room that only just fit them, and the strategy is just have Strahd go, Ray of Frost, just round the corner and like lock the group in the room, like, oh god!
They have a ton of resistances and they can cast slow. Oh god, it would have been a nightmare.
Two of them popping slow on you whilst gassing the room and just wailing on you in a room that I think was about 20 foot by 20 foot. It would have, and they take up 10 foot by 10 foot each.
What was your favourite fight?
Although
that's for everybody.
Although it was narrative and it was several fights, I loved how the Dagger Dog went.
Yeah,
The Dagger Dog. I really liked how that went. I love the Exofanta fight you never had. So much prep into that, and I loved that you thought he was stalking you down the mountain, and he was just back in his library forgetting.
It was Love Miller's cat all along.
Yeah, really tickled me so much.
Was he ever at Ravenlock? Because I kept thinking,
nope.
We're gonna meet him here. He's gonna be coming back for us and Strahd.
No, but Dark Powers tormented that Bart of a little vision of him.
Shtick then? With his
How
name
so?
and stuff, as in like, because he kept going seeing the thing like to make sure. What was the deal he made with Tenebrous?
The deal that you made, but he tried to get out of it by wiping his own name. And every time you told him his name, he was like, and his memories came back, and he felt Tenebrous quickly grow. He's like, oh fuck, and he'd go off and wipe his memory again. So I'd always come back confused.
What was your deal? That if you knew your name.
Collect names.
Collect names.
The moment that Bart, we didn't really mention this in campaign, but the second that Bart became Dark Lord, Bart became a Lich. In stat block.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
In stat block?
Well, you hadn't gone through the process of a book and the potion and all that, but you were a Lich.
Nice.
But
I
obviously,
thought that Sun Sword was hurting a bit.
So yeah, that's why he was wiping his memory, because every time he was reminded of his name, Tenebrous got back control back over him, and that's why Tenebrous wanted him gone, because he's like, fuck this. It wasn't like, he obviously wasn't telling Bart whole truths. He's like, this guy's got my power and my gifts, but I can't do fuck all with him, because I can't control him, because I need to know someone's name to control them.
Yeah. So the deal I'd made with Tenebrous was that I would help him get Exothanta's phylactery. In return, Exothanta would give me the power to destroy Velsharoon permanently. So that was the deal that had been made. So it wasn't me going into it going like, I'm going to be all powerful and
oh no.
It was very much my ultimate goal from like session 1 for Bart Anlis has been to destroy the god that he blames for killing his sister. So that was his entire story arc. So him being able to find that power at the end, and also it meant that he knew that Barty knew that he was going to end up becoming trapped in Barovia. I haven't been told out of character, but in character he was like, I'm probably not going to be leaving this place, but I will then control this place and I can make these two guys leave. And so when he was saying, yeah, go through the mist and maybe one day you can return and one day you can stop me, him closing the mist wasn't him going like, can't stop me now. It was I don't want you to come back because that means you've got to deal with this. Somebody's gonna have I know.
Yeah, you were pissed. You were really pissed.
Really pissed.
But that's good. That's good that Cora's kind of like, you know, even Lindsay and Cora have been so angry with it all their lives. But ultimately, Bart Anlis was doing it because he knew that the only way for somebody to beat him is to become him. Somebody else would have to take on that dark power. In his mind, he was like, I don't want these two people, who I now consider my friends, to come back and have to take this on. I'll take this on now. This is me. This is what I have to do.
I'm sorry thing from.
Yeah, so Strahd knew Strahd knew that I'd made
because
a deal with Tenebris.
Strahd's whole thing. So the way that Strahd's personality goes throughout the campaign is mild amusement at the start. But that no, because a lot of the time he doesn't know you've turned up. I went with more of a no. I've brought you all here because I saw some. I saw because he saw something in you all. Because there needs to be a reason as a DM that players make it to a campaign. So he starts off being mildly interested, and it even says raw. Strahd's whole thing is he thinks that he wants to be replaced, but he's too narcissistic and egotistical that he'll be like, this person could be the one to replace me. I'll test him. Everybody, he personally will find at some point, oh no, do you know what? You're not worthy. You're not worthy, because he is a narcissist. So he wanted for a while someone to take over him. He thought it would be Barthandelus or Halvor. That's why you were never courted by a Dark Power Cora, because you very quickly went all in with the ladies and the ladies three. And it became apparent. That you were not to be courted by the Dark Powers.
No, they did offer.
They did offer me.
It is like
Zadoon, the most Zadoon, who is like Zadoon's like the horniest one, and because it's so easy to go, I can bring back someone who's dead. It's so easy for someone to go, okay, and it was after you talking, because they were all there. The Dark Powers from the moment that and this is weird shit. Exophanta Raw has forgotten his name. Before you get there, I had this mad thing I had to talk to people about and work out, and our campaign was really, really just derailed on quite a low level by the fact that you happened to roll the certain dice to decipher a specific chapter of the Tome of Strahd that had the name Exophanta in, which Barthandelus, Poe, then sent a message and used the name Exophanta. So months before you got there, I had to deal with, what if Exophanta is suddenly under the control of the Dark Powers again and we have a few minutes with him, and Tenebris used that to make him blow the doors open to the temple, which is what Barthandelus dreamt of, and then
Did they know that?
Well, I described it in session. It wasn't a solo session.
I'm not sure whether you did. That's a private thing right before the session. I think it was like, right, I want 10 minutes with you before. When you wake up...
Oh, did I? Okay.
Yeah, you wake up and...
Because it was your dream, you saw it, and then you felt like the covers pulled back over you by Tenebris. It was the first time Tenebris spoke to you.
Oh, that was the creepiest thing with
when you were sleeping in the loft.
When he was asleep and it appears next to him.
Yeah, that's great. But a lot of groups have that happen till death, because they can do that until you die from exhaustion or force an encounter. So I had this whole thing where the Dark Powers became an element of the plot much earlier, because I had to deal with what if they were all kind of pulled up, knocked out of their dormancy a little bit before Exophanta went no. Ah, cool, nice and empty-headed again. So Strahd goes through that process of thinking he wants someone to take over from him, but then changes his mind at the end. So when the decision was taken out of his hands at the end, and he knew that Bart was Dark Lord, he knew what Bart was going in for. If Bart hadn't made a deal and you did what you did, Barovia's saved, because there's no new Dark Lord takes over it. It's just some demi-plane that eventually collapses. So anyone who doesn't leave dies, but collapsing like that expels all the Dark Powers to who knows where. So it can be like okay, you've ended the suffering of these 200 spirits, but how many fucking worlds have you potentially damned?
Yeah, well, that was the thing. So that was kind of like one of the... Because I'd said to Harrison that, he's grey. I don't know which way he's going to go with stuff. He went to the light, and I don't think he was ever evil until the end, which is why he did what he did, to become evil. But it was a case of, if we kill Strahd, we don't know what happens here. Literally, it could just vanish like that, and we're all just killed. So in Barthandelus' mind, it was like, if I become the ruler here, then I can let people leave. That's what I can do. If we kill Strahd, we might all just disappear. And these people that I'm with, they don't deserve to die.
We'd already
That-
killed Strahd by then, so it would have been vampire.
Well, no, with vampire. Well, yeah, but we didn't know that. I made the deal before we killed Strahd. So I was
when
like,
you went and slaughtered everybody.
yeah, but we needed to do that to get rid of vampire.
Because you had no evil men left. The only evil man left, really, was Aragorn, and I imagine he just wasn't in your mind.
But we didn't even know he was an evil person,
No,
did we?
no.
So that was the thing. So up until the point, it was like, if we're gonna defeat Strahd, which to defeat Strahd we need to defeat Vampire realistically, otherwise Vampire's gonna make another Strahd or bring Strahd back.
Strahd, if you don't deal with Vampire, so killing Strahd without dealing with Vampire or binding him, the sun comes up, the mists thin out, people are able to leave within like 1d4 weeks. The mists come back, Strahd returned because Strahd had said, look, so I've been killed before, and Bart was like, well, yeah, we can stake him, and whoever it was spoke to, like, no, we staked him. He turned to fiery ash, but he came back, and Bart being like, oh, okay. He's like, I know how to deal with vampires. Like, yeah, so do I. That didn't work. Huh? Okay. Which even Van Richten didn't know, because Van Richten's plan to come in and stake him would have been like, oh.
Yeah. So that was the thing. So it's like, we know that he can't be killed, but we don't know what happens when he is killed. We don't know if you do, because nobody knew. Nobody knew if you could escape. But we knew that whoever controlled the land controlled the mists. If the Dark Lord controls the mists, then you can make people escape. So I was like,
so would
okay,
Bartandus have let, or would Poe have let everybody else leave? Would he have kept being just him and the endless reincarnations of his sister? Most satisfying fucking thing I ever did that. After all this, she's literally ripped out of heaven to serve as your Tatiana.
I think Bartandus / Poe, because I think once he'd shunned the Morning Lord, who could no longer carry on the name Bartandus, Poe would absolutely, when he was doing it, thinking, yeah, I'm gonna release everybody. However, there would have probably been a reason why he didn't for some reason, and then it just comes down to a point where, actually no, I'll keep. Even if he become a bad guy, it would have because he's a dark power, he would have 100% become an evil person. So yeah, I think he's just still sat there now.
In his chapel full of dirt.
Chapel full of dirt, yeah.
All his jars of dirt. Lindsay, your eyes going there. I thought you were sat back.
The wine.
I thought you were sat back. Are you getting leery?
I mean, it's very emotional. I need the wine to help me.
Well, that's what I did like. That I feel like everybody arguably had some emotional moments. Halvor played his close to the chest. I couldn't tell too often when Halvor was getting a bit emotional. I feel like
Halvor in general.
I feel like he didn't too much. He's always crying and work at the idea of going back to Nottingham for the weekend. I don't know if I feel like Halvor's vision with Yokel probably hit the weakest for me. I felt like on paper it seemed like the best one to have, and I thought this would be really easy. This doesn't need to be elaborate. It can just be like a father-son moment. But I felt like at the time maybe Halvor wasn't picking up what was putting down, or if you just felt it was. How did that interaction go for you, Halvor and Magulfias?
I mean, I was convinced. I was like, yeah, I should go with him. Like, it seemed like the obvious choice, but then I'm also sitting there like, am I just saying that my character's gonna die now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit
Because
messy, wasn't it?
I
It
was
like,
not
I don't want
ready
to
for that
die.
to be how that story ended, you know?
That was that whole, all three of those encounters, if you had been remotely like okay, yeah, I'll go, would have been like a quick side DM of this, your character will never be seen again. They enter the realm of the dead, and there is no body, there is no nothing, they are just gone. Are you sure you wish to proceed? And I was worried that with the right encounter, Bartandus would go, that Mad would go, yeah, it's what Bart would do. I'll play someone else the last month. I'll play Ez or some mercenary. If my character would do it, I'll do it.
I was so close to going, this is what Cora would do. This is her family. This is the people that she loves.
Yeah, I think I was trying to play it from Halvor's point of view, and I was thinking, I'm not sure if he would really know that this wasn't real in the same way, especially since I just watched Cora's, scene. So I'm thinking, oh yes, it's a spirit. But Halvor was like,
He doesn't know that.
I was falling, and now I'm somewhere else.
Have I already died?
So I felt like Halvor's desire to help others was a good escape, but I was very tempted to go with your call.
God, might have a campaign and all just ended.
We all just quit.
I think if Cora had met the Gulfire's troop, we'd done that earlier in the campaign, and she wasn't so bonded to these guys, then she would have.
Yeah, I think that was Bart's thing as well. Albeit, like, him leaving the afterlife was like, oh god, this is worse than Barovia.
I'll go back, thanks.
Here's everyone that you failed, or everyone whose deaths you've led to. I love building up.
Really why Barty wanted to be the Dark Lord in the end or whatever, because he was like, I never die. I never have to face that.
Yeah, possibly, yeah. But I love making that walk of shame of just hearing all these different people and all these scenarios I read out. You're like, oh god, all the kids. Well, imagine. We're all falling off the edge of a platform through lack of space. So, what's your question about Strahd? What was the deal with Strahd? Yeah, so that's why he. Sorry, to course to summarise. Yeah, that's why he was sorry, because he knew that a new dark. You know, that Vandalus was just forever damned.
Because we had this conversation, we were like, is that a sarcastic I'm sorry? Do you genuinely...
I'll use my last moment to throw shade.
Because we never really got a sense that he cared about our outcome. And
No.
for him to say sorry, it was like, oh, you do? Yeah.
To me though, it was a very like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to anybody. I've experienced it, and now you're gonna get it. So, sorry, mate.
Sorry.
Exactly.
Sorry, not
Yeah,
sorry.
and that landed for me because I'd already kind of put the wheels in motion of like, okay, I now see what my character's ultimate end is gonna be. So I kept saying like, I don't know if I'm gonna do the bad thing, and then the DM, I think it was while we're in Ravenloft, and the DM was kind of like, oh, you know the ritual amber, and these are the things you need. It was like blood of an evil person. I was like, yeah, we've killed everybody. Shit. And I didn't. And this thing, I never considered Bart to be evil by any stretch. I was like, okay, man, got to do what man got to do. And so it was like, go and kill a load of kids.
Hey, boy.
So I went and killed Vacta first because I thought she was more powerful than she was. I figured the only people in Valaki that are going to be able to kill me.
Oh, you overkilled her so much, it was so funny. I think she had like, I'm sure she had like 17 HP and you did like 79. Like, yeah!
She was eviscerated. So I killed Vacta.
Ernst comes down and there's like, it's like the Dr. Manhattan thing, there's like a woman-shaped smear of blood on the wall.
Yeah, so then I was like, okay, kill the kids. Because killing kids is probably about as evil as you're going to get. But then I was like, do you know what?
You could have. No.
Oh, no.
Got them to kill each other? No, go on.
Oh god, that reminds me of when you told me about Velsharoon. While I was walking the dog, like when you said that all the kids knew about Velsharoon, like, because I was still in that time as Paul, like, I've got to do something about it. Because I wasn't in Bad Anglis then. I was like, Paul's got to do something. Paul, the kids, what am I going to do? And I was literally planning. I was like, I need a solo session because I'm gonna have to go and mute all these kids and cut the tongues out so none of them can speak. Not kill them, because killing them is the worst thing you can do. But it's like, make it so they can't say his name.
That's fine.
Well, remember they'd also daubed his name. They'd also written his name on the wall.
Who had?
The kids. The corridor member.
I don't know. I was thinking they're orphans. Probably can't. It's crazy that children in that era could write in a village
possessed by a demon.
Yeah. So, So I was like, okay, go and kill the kids. But I was like, do you know what? And that was the thing. I think it might have been Halvor that said it. Where it might have been Halvor, it might have been DM. I'm not sure. Saying that if you know that you're doing this for a good reason,
yeah, it was me.
Is it evil?
Yeah.
I was like, okay. So then when I killed the kids, I'm like, okay. And in my mind, in Bartanlis' mind, most of these Barovians aren't real people anyway. So is this evil? Like,
I had that question.
So I was like, okay, I need to kill people that he believes who are real people. And his friends like, I'm gonna have to go and kill the Matikos. I'm gonna have to go and burn on the blue water. They need to die.
Is that why you went to the blue water?
That's why I went to the blue water. I was like, I've got to kill some people that he believes would have some actual significance in the real world. So it's like,
What would have been the deal with the Martikovs if we then went to them?
They'd have been trying to kill him.
But
I was very
how
tempted.
Separated from him, and we went back to Blackie, and we saw. Them.
You went to the winery and it was abandoned. Remember, because they all went to ground. They all went to ground.
There was something that you would have worked out if I'd stayed and tried to find Muriel.
Muriel would have come to you from afar and would have just been like, "You fucking went in with a bad guy." You know, we just traded one evil overlord for another, and now you're fucking off. We were wrong to put our faith in people. We'll keep on trying to fix it ourselves. But they were, everything was so eviscerated. Adventurers only came in because Strahd allowed it. If if Poe had just blocked it off, there was no way. Those particular keepers would have grown old and died, and time would have gone on.
There was barely any people left in the entire land by that point.
Yeah.
Everyone in Krezg was dead.
Yeah.
Everyone in Blackie was dead.
Most of the people in Barovia were undead.
The Vistani. There were obviously 2 encampments of Vistani. I don't know if Poe would have allowed that.
I said that I eviscerated the Vistani. That was my first act as Dark Lord.
Oh yeah.
Not the Sir Tool.
Oh yeah, of course. Because that's about Arabelle, and you're like, yeah. Oh, Raw in the book, Arabelle is a time traveling Madame Eva.
I think it could work depending on.
Also
the
Eva.
Stuff anyway.
Eva. So Raw, Eva, Yenny, and Laura Stoneheart are not the Fanes. The Fanes are a community added thing, other than the fact that there are standing stones there. All the shit I read in Berez is Mandy mod additions. In the book, Eva is Strahd's sister, but neither of them remember this.
So peculiar.
Irina is only Ismark's half sister. She's an adopted Vistani baby. Irina's half brother is Izek, and he dreams of her, which is why he had all the dolls of her in his room.
That was so weird.
And again, that's early enough that as a DM and a storyteller learning a module, I didn't have a better enough grip on that. I should have just left the dolls because I knew I'd already established I wasn't going with the sibling plot. So why is this one random guy dreaming of getting dolls made of a woman in the next town over he's never met before? So that was one of those things that for me early on enough I was like, I wouldn't do it that way.
Really?
A plot hook, we'll leave that to one side.
Yeah, I've just been told that actually Arabelle time travelling is not raw.
But if the Vistani can come and go as they please, why the fuck do they come back to Barovia?
Yeah.
They only come and go if they please with Strahd's permission. Strahd treats them very well. They're persecuted a lot elsewhere. It's pretty much their safe place to come back to, and they can make a lot of money bringing stuff in and out.
And going back to that dude that was in Ravenloft, there was no Vistani. You know the dude that was shackled, the ghost.
Leaf Lipsiege. He's not a ghost raw, but I like the idea of him being just some eternal servitude ghost rather than just an old bloke chained to a desk. I imagine Strahd will get frustrated at having to train a new archivist every 60 years or so. So we'll just make Torment want to be in a ghost. But what was your question, sorry?
There was no Vistani.
No.
So is that why Ez didn't have one?
Ez didn't have one because she wasn't a full native. She just was she just crept in and was a bit of an enemy. Yeah, but he hadn't got her alone like he had with you.
I thought Ez is Vistani though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the R theory.
But he wasn't but she wasn't she wasn't a Vistani. He was on the Vistani. He was on friendly terms. Yeah, the Vistani he was on friendly terms with. He didn't collect scry equipment from because he was on friendly terms with. Ez he didn't because she just turned up and caused shit, and he'd never downed her physically. He took the beard off you, Halvor. One of the ghouls got away in one of the encounters that had slashed and bitten Bartanis, and I was like, okay, there's viscera and blood and gore on that thing that Strahd could be got that, thank you. And I can't remember what yours was, Cora. I feel like
I did a couple of times.
I can't remember what it
It
was.
was red hair. Or a fingernail? Was it fingernail?
Wasn't it in the big arena?
Yeah, it was a fingernail off the hand. Yeah.
In my gore bag. Man, my gore bag was so full by
Oh.
the end of it. I didn't. So at
Full
one
of
point,
the orphan satchel.
When I like Father Christmas, just big sack of kids. There was at one point when I was like leaning towards onomancy and being a bit of a darker guy, and like I'm gonna do whatever it takes. That I was collecting the heads of the hags with the intention at some point of speaking to them and offering them a deal to bring them back to life. That's what I was gonna do.
Yeah.
That's why I was saving the heads of the hags. I was gonna like, I'll have my own little coven here. Yeah, okay, let's do that. Making some deals with hags, but then I went to the light side
For a bit.
and then back.
For a brief jaunt before he went full dark. He went to the light side to build up momentum to go darker even harder. He has to get some running speed. Do we have any more questions? Or do we think we've...
The tower. Oh, go on.
I was just gonna say, since Cora mentioned that she thinks her vision was one of her highlights, I wanted to ask what overall yours might have been, because I had a couple of times in mind that I thought were worth mentioning. One of them was, I think, was it after we restored all the Fanes, and visually it was just like a landscape, and then you had like maybe some fog effects and that kind of thing, and then it was like music, but then just raw description for like 5 minutes. But that was such a cool, satisfying scene.
Was this not the description of the only long description around this?
Well,
was
we were
like
seeing the
time travel around the res.
Yeah,
so that is interesting, Matt. I was talking to that about someone the other day in that I don't like there's a few DMs out there where they seem to treat D&D sessions as their own like creative writing exercise. I'm always so conscious of when I'm talking for too long, because I feel like it just makes people tune out to the point where I felt like I was reading. That was like two A4 pages in a Google Doc, like the visions of the time travel, time passing in Berez's history. I felt like I was reading for like 10 minutes. And I was like, God, they must have all gone AFK. They must have all been like, Jesus Christ. Because we do tend to keep it quite short in terms of just descriptions. So yeah, I did like reading that. I liked that your reactions were clearly very engaged with it. I had a couple of music prompts that I quite subtly shifted to and things like the river's rising, everyone's trying to get away, and I bring the characters' names into it. Like, Corey, you try and climb onto the minute. Oh, you're all swept away. And I liked that. And again, at the end, the softer music with the slight bird song where it's like, you have restored the Swamp Thane.
Partly the satisfaction of knowing restored the Fanes, getting glimpses into some of the past events that we otherwise probably wouldn't have. Yeah, that whole thing I just found really satisfying. And then the other one I wanted to mention was a lot of the stuff in Krez with the Abbot. That I've mentioned this to you before. The music was fantastically creepy. The portrayal of him as this kind of, he was otherworldly, but this kind of spacey, creepy guy, and despite having the beautiful art, and also, yeah, all of that was great. And then the battle with him, which climatically ended with Bartandalus using the whatever it's called to deliver you to
Vampiric
grave.
Vampiric touch. Yeah.
But with the thing where you like double your damage or whatever, your charm divinity thing. So yeah, that was a climatic ending to what was a very cool location generally.
I have put the music playlist for the Abbott social encounter in the chat. I've gone through and put all of my, as I've been obviously made, because my Curse of Strahd folder in Foundry was like 60 gig. Because of just art and music and everything. So I've been transferring my Curse of Strahd assets to like Pinterest and to like here's Harrison's master Google Doc of all things Curse of Strahd. I've also got Spotify playlists for like everything I've made now. So I have linked you to the Abbott's playlist was a lot of the more subtle Stranger Things music. It wasn't I really, really loved that encounter. You spent, I think, 6 hours speaking to him real time before.
Nothing in comparison to Exavanta.
Exavanta was I checked. Exavanta was 14 hours. You had, and you dipped out. You dipped out of a room a couple of times and went and looked around a bit, and you'd go back and speak more. But in those sessions, you spent 14 hours of session talking to Exafanta.
Jesus. What was your
Almost
favourite
5
moments, Cora? Apart from the visions, we'll put the visions like they were their own thing.
The one that sticks in my mind is when we were over the lake and we were being chased by the big sea monster, and then the rock comes in. The vision in my head of what that was amazing. I think that was just more probably my perception of what it was. I felt like I was really engaged.
For which part of the rock?
The first time that we saw the rock, and we didn't really know that he was working with us.
The lake
Was that over the lake when it grabbed the minnow?
Yeah.
That was awesome.
I had ready, if a combat had gone differently, I had that if you had been engaging with Strahd where he was, or if Bartandus had tried to fly up, or if Cora had been Arwen, he was going to go up on Basophiles and just be throwing spells down at you. And I had it ready that cut in a flash of the thunder. Oh wait, because again, the people you'd befriended, I wanted to grant actual tangible benefits to you. Basophiles was going to get eliminated because I was going to have that in a crack of the thunder, Cora. You were going to see just a shape in the clouds behind, and the rock was going to dive bomb Strahd and try and take him out, and was going to get them, just going to snatch Basophiles out the air. So you're going to have a moment where like a huge flyby from the rock, just its stomach brushing over the tower, just coming dead low, and just snuffing out Basophiles with a single claw grab, and Strahd basically falling and just booking it through a window to try and get away. Really put him on the defensive.
We had no idea that he was a good guy at that point. The Rock. We were like, oh my god, this thing's gonna eat us too.
Well, you were so scared heading in and out of the west gates of Vallaki because you were always and the trees give way, and there's an open clearing. You were always like, go, 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 get my town. Because the scale of it, I remember a couple of times it's your realization of the scale hitting in. And I really like that you committed to convincing Sir Eric. Because you could have not completed, you could have gone to Sir Eric, nah, fuck off, we're not doing that. And all it would have meant was those quests were not completed. So you never got the bonus from the beacon being lit because you couldn't get into the mausoleum to put the skull in, and Halvor's shield would never fully ascend. It was awakened at that point. It would never ascend. So it wasn't required to complete the campaign. You could have gone no, but I like that you put the time into being like, there used to be 2 rocks. This thing killed one of them, and even being undead, he was like, your argument is acceptable. And that led to, again, I loved that it was an encounter that, for me, the biggest disappointment in this campaign was the singer. That was my first experience of just creating a monster from scratch. I fucked it up terribly. The map was too big and was too high far, so it was slow, sluggish encounter, and although there was a lot of fun with it eating people, the 3 of you just went, it's dead. The giant frog. Now, the lead up to it was really interesting. I liked establishing it as an environmental threat, so you didn't just go wandering into Perez and you didn't know what it was about. And I liked that I set that up a lot when Bart was in the carriage with Strahd. He was like, I need to deafen you. And then even though he was deafened, you could see Gertrude was like, oh, he's
that was a private session. They don't know that though, do they?
I can't remember. Yeah. So you knew, and I had on the Berez map, I had drawn in Foundry for the hex crawl invisible layers for a DM. It's like, this is the radius the singer can be heard at, and it's in the middle. Here's if the water's this deep, and I loved all that in the mist. Ez and Bart were charmed, and by the siren sound, and they were lying with they were working with each other to lie to you all, and Halvor and Cora were like, fuck's sake. Chasing you all through. The lead up was great, but the combat was so disappointing. And the opposite of that, I felt like the Dagger Dog was a really good example of, it was a recurring fight. It wasn't like, because I felt like, we fought Rahadin on the way up, and then he was waiting, we fought Rahadin on the way back. I liked that the Dagger Dog was stalking you. It was sniffing at the magic on you. It was ambushing, and it had some magic that it was using. It tried to lure Bartandalus out with a vision of the abbot, and it was working bit by bit. And then eventually, that for me was a really satisfying, okay, let's pop all our shit, Halvor running at like 800 feet per round across the snowy plains, like chasing it down. There was nothing for me that was bad about those encounters. Even though its stat block wasn't particularly interesting.
For me, with that, the first battle with it, where we went into its lair and fucking goosed that entire combat for you, because like, daylight, I'm on the roof. What you gonna do?
Yeah.
Battered it. That was brilliant. So yeah, I like the Dagger Dog encounters. For me, the best moments, and there's three in the killing the abbot and find out it was an angel of Lathander was like, because it was such the turning point for Bartanos. For me, it was like, fucking hell, like that was me, like physically, like in bits when that happened. But the two other bits that they've stood out for me through the entire campaign. One of them was when we were in Berez, covered in flies in that room, and just like, this is pissing me off. We can't do nothing, and it's just constant. And then it's like nighttime, and there's the creepy fucking music on the other side of the door. I was like, no, this is the worst.
I love that building. That building there's 3 separate buildings in Berez Raw. There's a graveyard, the mansion, and the church, and they're all one single hex away from each other. And individually, I find them all quite underwhelming. But then there was that one map. I was like, this is too big to be a church, but it was clearly this is a mansion on a church. Perfect. I can combine them, and I felt that for a place that is effectively homebrew. I loved that isolated little building you worked through. Yeah. But go on, sorry, you said
I like that we went into the other room and we were like, oh, there's lots of stuff, lots of sturges, and we're going.
That's fucking sturges, man. Oh, they're the worst.
And then vampire sturges were fucking awful.
Oh, they were
the Strigoi.
Yeah, no, the moment that has stayed with me for longest, and I feel like it was the turning point for RP in the campaign. Kind of like it was like a really big moment with me and Halvor, and it was the first session when Jay wasn't here. Is when we killed Doru. When we were in the cellar with Father
Donovich.
And we're like, we need to kill your son. And I was like,
oh,
no.
God,
we need to kill this dude. And convincing him to let us kill his son, and convincing Doru to let us kill him.
Doru wanted it, remember?
Yeah, he did, yeah. Yeah, he did, yeah. And it was convincing thing. And I was like, okay, we're going to do it. And we, like, just that build, because at first everyone was like, no, we can't do this kind of, okay, yeah.
No,
okay,
you were all for it.
I was trying to convince you guys, like, no, we need to kill this dude. He's a vampire. We need to fucking kill him. You, oh yeah, but I was like, but then slowly, because I think Cora still was like, well, I'm not been involved in it.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it was Halvor like, well, I'm the strong one, so I'll smash a fucking stake through him. And then I just knew it was happening as we were walking away. You just hear the single.
Oh no, it was so bad.
And he just hung himself from the rope with a single sound of the bell. I knew that was going to come.
What, before the bell?
I just had this feeling that he was like so depressed and he was like walking away. I was like, I think as we walk away, we're going to hear the bell sound once. And then the DM delivered. I was like, yeah, it was, that was a moment that was a really good moment.
That was another, oh God moment.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a lot of those in Curse of Strahd.
Yeah, I enjoyed them. I really enjoyed, because it was just for me a bit of a challenge. I love the dinner party, because it was just pull a concept and a staff out of just this isn't anywhere. Just fucking pull it out of thin air and do it.
Our dinner party, you mean?
Your dinner party, yeah, not a Ravenloft one. Just your dinner party. And I was like, well, I've got to tie this into the rest of the campaign somehow. I was like, okay, these are here are some NPCs and their relation to the plot in general. When I uploaded a Pinterest board, I've put loads of Pinterest stuff on. People like, who the fuck are all these people? It's like, oh, this is a person from. Oh God, yeah, they're one of my, because they integrated well enough. Krezk's a bit different, because I would say maybe there's like 43 NPCs in Krezk with all that art and relationships and all that. But the people like who on, like, Anya? Anya's not a Curse of Strahd character. I pulled her out of thin air, and you're like, oh shit, yeah, of course.
I like that, and that's just a testament of the campaign and you as a DM, that you really did allow us to really build up some characters. Like, yeah, okay, this random NPC, you know, has a shop. I'm like, hey, how you doing? Good looking. And then it just became a fucking thing, just like this whole thing.
But so seamless that we didn't notice that, you know, I would never have known which ones were raw and which ones you made up.
Yeah. Raw, Strahd's not in it.
It's just the name of it is just
Curse of question mark? Curse of you? Right, I think we should wrap it up because we're coming up on almost an extra hour here. It has been very, very good. Do we want to
next week?
Do we want to show our tokens? So we got some Hero Forge models made. I personally haven't seen the renders, haven't been too fussed on these, but the players have assured me that in person they look pretty good. So yeah, we have, to go from the top, so Bartandalis, more for a Poe. He's still got his side cut. He's got Angelo, his little pseudo dragon thing from the Codex of Ogma. He's got perch on his arm and like crystals of amber around on the floor. He's also got the black, when he made his pact with Tenebris, he's got the black tear-stained cheeks. Halvor is my favourite one. Halvor's was by far the most insanely expensive, but I couldn't pass up having the wolf on it. Halvor is obviously riding Rhymefang. Is wielding the Sun Sword. I can't remember. Is he still wearing a knuckle duster? For a long time he had a knuckle duster on as well, just because he didn't have a hand empty.
Doesn't look like it. Empty hand in one hand and a sword in the other.
And he has the
shield on his back.
Yeah,
he's got an empty hand in one hand. He's got
a clenched hand. He's got the Aegis of Argynvost on his back. And then we have Cora, obviously, who is perched up because she's a ranger, so obviously got a bit of an action pose. She's got Norris on her arm. She's got
an owl somewhere.
Well, I was telling Alex, they were expensive enough that I didn't want to mess around with jokes, but I had the option to attach an owl to either hand, either shoulder, and on the floor around. I was going to have so many owls, just like, yeah! So what I found frustrating about hers was no way to amend the dimensions so that she had no hand. So she asked, that's why you'll notice, well, you may notice, one of your hands is normal flesh, the other one were the same sort of bark tones as the hand.
Yeah,
to kind of blend it in a little bit.
Until you said then, I thought that it was the same as Johnny Trey. I thought it really was a wood hand.
The reason your antlers never grew any bigger is because they removed the antler options of Hero Forge. Or they change enough. I was like, God damn it, that's not the sort of horn she's got. Okay, the nubs fall off when all the things are restored. So yeah, because obviously I for so long was held off. I thought, I don't want to buy I can't buy them yet because I don't know what's happened with Bartandalis. I don't know if Rhymefang's gonna make it through.
Whatever did happen to him?
So Rhymefang, he left with Halvor.
We left.
Tormund and Ghost rode off into the sunset, as was always intended.
No. When you guys went into the mist, I let you guys leave. Rhymefang turned around and just. Oh!
Yeah, he let you go, but none of your pants. The pants. You come out. Ever leave a demi plane and you look down and realise you're naked. The curse of Bart.
Curse is Bartandalis.
Yeah. So yeah, it was 3 years, but I thoroughly enjoyed the campaign. I think I would run Curse of Strahd again one day.
I think I'd like to.
To run it?
I've got now that I've played
it again, but I can't.
Now that I've played it, I feel like there's so many things that I'd like to put into it. Like I would do this character difference, or this is how I would maybe do this story arc.
Yeah.
So I feel like at some point I might maybe not run the campaign. But
I feel like I would buy the book and then I'd be like, oh, but I've got to have Anya. She's a staple of the Blackie.
Yeah.
And then you can go to the Curse of Strahd Discord again. I can unban you from that now.
I was going to ask you about that. Last week I tried to join it because I was like, oh, campaign's over now. I can join. And I couldn't join.
Yeah, I banned you because I was like, why the fuck? Right, go on. Right, I know, because I know you weren't ruining it for yourself. But what always threw me was how fucking flimsy your excuse was of why you were in there. I wanted to see if anybody on there had mentioned the Foundry discount code. I was like, what? You would go and... What was the story, Jackanory?
It was a legit. It's a very rare occasion. I'm one of the community helpers on the Foundry Discord, as you well know. And it's
don't I know?
mentioned. I jumped in to see if anyone had already posted it, and I think it had already been mentioned. So I was like, all right, peace.
Yeah, let's have a look. Members, bands. Where's Monkey? Your ban has been revoked from the Curse of Strahd community.
Well, I'd be a celebrity if I go on there.
You're preemptively banned.
Yeah, I've got to come and learn all about all the ins and outs.
Yeah, I did well to not get it. The only spoilers I got is that I knew that Babala Saga's hut was a walking hut.
Yeah.
Because I'd accidentally stumbled upon a map.
I've got a couple of maps. I saw that on the D&D Reddit there were some people posted some good maps, like Ravenloft maps, and I thought that they were really good quality, so I saved them and was like, okay, they're saved, now I cannot look at them.
Yeah, that's all. I only knew about that, and I only knew about I knew what the Tarokka was, because I didn't, like, very, very, like, years ago, I read the beginning of Curse of Strahd up to learning what the Tarokkas were, but I didn't know how they kind of tied in. So or where they would lead or anything like that. But yeah, I did well to get no spoilers. Not like Dolus, who got into the death house. He's like, I'm going to try this random wall over here for no reason.
There was a time that I thought Halvor did that in Amber Temple. Whereas there was one room where he's like, I want to investigate here, and he investigated like just along from where the secret door actually was. Like, why is he beeline right? Is he gonna go like, But yeah, so I was like, but then he didn't. He goes, okay, I head off. I was like, okay.
Oh, do you know that you guys? I don't know if I think Harrison told me offline. Do you know the room in Ludmilla's where like, this secret room. I wonder if there's something behind it. Never mind. I don't know it's there. It literally was nothing there.
No.
It wasn't even a secret room. It was just really weirdly walled. But yeah, there you go. Anyway, what a note to end it on. We had all our best moments, all our worst moments, and we end it on there was no room after all.
Well, yeah, I very much enjoyed the last 3 years. Thank you very much for being excellent players.
Thank you for being a good DM.
Thank you. Well, I said you were excellent. I noticed you only said I was good. Okay, fair enough. I will definitely... I mean, I know I'm starting another campaign soon, which I know Bart is in. I'm going to be running some one-shots and some shorter series arcs. I'll admit, Cora, I always assumed you'd never want to do it again until we talk near the end. But if I'm doing shorter, whimsy sort of things, I'll definitely do some more fun, maybe ancient Greek or dragon-related things. I will definitely. Well, I've already told Halvor that I will definitely let him know when I eventually start running my Ghost of Annihilation campaign, which will probably be in a long time. But
Ghosts of Annihilation,
Ghost of Salt Marsh Team of Annihilation, very, very, very popular mashup, highlighted by Macarius. But I'm going to be doing some one-shots for some excellent adventures from Crucible magazine at some point. So if you both want in on that, then you can. But otherwise, is there anything that anyone wants to say? Well, I suppose only one of you is plugging anything really. Does anyone want to say anything before we go? Starting on overlay order, which is Bartandalus.
No, it's just been. No, it's been. It's been a lovely.
Fuck off.
3 years. It's been good. We've had our ups and downs and trials and tribulations, but we all got through it in the end. Do you know what I think? Genuinely, for 3 people that had never played with each other before, the fact that we've played for 3 years is staggering.
We've never met each other before. Like,
didn't know you were.
no.
I only encountered you at the door, waving from the car when Alex dropped that mead off with me. I was like, oh, there she is.
The people watching don't know this, other than Harrison and these two. I've never seen these two before. Did not know what they look like. So.
Oh yeah, of course. You haven't even seen a photo, or we haven't played with webcam on.
Yeah. But no, genuinely, it's been.
A really good addition. Like, that's what I really missed from the games, I think, and I think that would have made a lot of difference to me if I could see everybody. Like, I know, like, tabletop games, it makes such a difference if you face to face and stuff. But if you could have, like, a Zoom alongside it or something. Just
That's what a lot of people do. That's what I'm doing in my next campaign. And whilst we were playing our campaign, I started being a player in someone else's campaign. And they were like, oh yeah, we all do webcams. And I remember being like, okay. And straight away, it was like, oh no, you get so much of what I think you lack. When you sat here in a phone call, and the temptation's there to tab and look at something else, or, oh no. Right, okay, so in our next campaign that's starting soon, Alex is playing like a fox person. And he's ordered a fox mask, but it smells so bad that he's had to seal it in a tin. He's cut
My cab arrives tomorrow.
He's got a chainmail like cuirass.
You're gonna have to wear that for 3 hours every week.
Oh well, this is the thing. We're playing for like 4 to 5 hours with this other group because this other group are all hardcore D&Ders. So everyone's like, yeah, 4 to 5 hours seems like a decent session length.
I give that 3 sessions before you abandon it.
I think his character will start like really throwing himself into dangerous situations.
It's a bit of a gimp suit going on here.
My chainmail top.
And then he's got a big silicon. There's also a big silicon plug he sits on as well. The foxtail. Tell them about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Authentic.
Okay.
Yeah, cameras would be. Yeah, but no. Thank you guys for playing with me. It's been good. I've enjoyed it. It's been second best campaign I've ever been in.
After Rhyme. Cora, anything from you? Anything you're plugging? Anything you want to say or tell us about?
Zero plugs.
Why is Alex shaking his head? No, go on.
Grateful for your patience that you guys have put up with me over the last 3 years. I know it's not been necessarily an easy ride for you guys.
It's been good. It's been good. Just too many owls.
A lot, and I have very much enjoyed becoming part of the D&D world. For someone that was such a novice, I feel like you've really eased me into it and been extremely kind and helpful, and I'm very grateful. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Anything from Halvor?
Thank you, Harrison, for running it. I've had a fantastic time. To anyone who's been watching for 3 years, what are you doing with your life? Swing by the Foundry Discord and say hi.
But before you do that, go and buy Crucible magazine.
Head on over to ForgottenAdventures.net.
Oh! I can change that in post edit. We've had a surprise.
It's forgotten-adventures.
We've had a few. I get a surprise. So when we broadcast on Twitch, unless everybody knows, it's like unless I'm like in the Discord going, oh shit, it's like Ravenloft or it's Strahd or it's this tonight. We'd normally average on 5 to 10 viewers. But for YouTube videos, which only started getting recorded and uploading at session 98, which is dinner party, get a surprising amount. And I get a lot of comments that are like, where's the first 98, please? Where can I watch the first ones? And I get a lot of comments on like I got quite a few comments on the most recent one. It's like, I've watched all of these and I've really loved it and I've listened to it while I'm at work. I can't wait till the next one. It's like crazy. So yeah, the next campaign. Well, first of all, yeah, I've really, really enjoyed this. I've enjoyed running it every week. It's been great. I'm looking forward to the next thing. Looking ahead to the next thing. It has been very, very good. I've had fantastic players for the most part. I've had really well prepared content for the most part. They've been really nice sessions for the most part. Yeah, it's all been very, very good. I've thoroughly enjoyed every minute of it. That's it for the most part. But yeah, it's come to an end, which feels very, very weird. The first Tuesday where I wasn't doing anything was like trying to work out what to do with my evening instead. I imagine you went for a big dog walk or went out for a meal or something like that, being able to. But yeah,
Tuesday's Tuesday night.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. So my next campaign will start on Tuesday, the 25th of January. It is Fragments, a Demi-Planes of Dread campaign. It will not be on this channel. It will be over on the Nat20 Twitch channel. We're being hosted there. I will put a link to that in the chat or in the YouTube description below if you're seeing this later on. But yeah, thank you very much everybody who joined us for some part or all of the campaign. It was a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And we may never see each other ever again.
And it's like an 80s freeze frame where we all go, yeah.
Well, let's do it. Let's all go into freeze frame and I'll change it over. So, yeah!